This is our large SUV comparison episode, 7-seater focus and also premium focus. And that's why we have here in our lineup today BMW X7 versus Mercedes GLS versus Lexus TX versus Volvo XC90 versus Kia EV9 as the electric competitor here versus Mazda CX-80 or correspond to that the CX-90 on the North American market as the cheaper competitor, and another more budget variant in comparison to the others is the Skoda Kodiaq that's also offered in the 7-seater version. And also the note that the Lexus TX is also a sibling to the Toyota Grand Highlander, so that might also play a role in this very comparison. So let's check out all of these individual vehicles, and at the end of the episode I give you my favorite and also tell me your favorite vehicle here in the comments. Let's go. BMW has worked on their X7 and you have asked me, can they now catch up in the SUV segment to Bentley or even Rolls-Royce? Do they make them obsolete? We're going to find out here on Autogefühl with Thomas with the updated BMW X7 here in Brooklyn Grey. What a setup. Look at that with the extended shallow line. Here you can see then the double kidney is in all black, and look at that, how large it is. Vertical fins right there, and also in here in the M Sport the contrasting lower bumper. What I've done is here with the front setup, they have split the daytime running light and the main headlamps. This has created a lot of discussions. Some love it, some hate it. Tell me in the comments which side are you on. Are you team love or team hate? But overall I think a very impressive setup. They wanted to make a bigger differentiation between the X7 and the X5 or X6 to put this one here even more upmarket. Yeah, maybe also to attack the top luxury brand. We're going to find out if that works or not. You wonder about the big microphone today? Well, there's a generator and some, like waterfall stuff running in the background. So best sound quality for you. Length here at 5.16 meters or 203 inches. That hasn't changed, but what has changed, the wheel sizes starting now from 20 inch as base up to 23 inch now. Biggest one so far at BMW, and here these are 22 inch, already very massive styling in these M style here. Also see the badge right there. Wow. And then the M Sport also then has this contrasting side here. Overall a very impressive look, and you can see this is also optimized for space, so especially for US customers, they're using this as a people carrier basically, or for the family and stuff. Therefore more upright windows that you really have also space on the inside. Technology wise, optional here for the 40i or standard for the M60i is rear axle steering and anti-tilt control. Gives you more sporty feeling, but at the same time rear axle steering also somewhat fakes a shorter wheelbase when these rear wheels go in the opposite direction than the front wheels, also reducing the turning circle. Very interesting, by the way, that with this new electrification, mild hybrid technology, when I'm easing the car here around and just rolling downhill, then the engine tends to shut off and you're rolling. The car is still somewhat active, but the engine is already shut off. So not a true hybrid feeling, but already some mild hybrid moments. Yes, an X7 looks bulkier in the rear than an X5, for example, because again, space also for the third seating row and so on, and for the trunk. But here with this sculptural three-dimensional tail lamp design, really nice. It looks again a little bit more dynamic, and this chrome strip here goes all the way across. I think this color here works very well for the vehicle, doesn't it? Look at that here in the lower part. Autogefühl fake exhaust police, because, well, the outer one is just for beauty cosmetics. It works well design-wise. Yes, the real exhaust on the inside. So in this case, although it's not just about, the real thing, I think it kind of works, doesn't it? What's your take on that? Overall, I think, considering this is also form follows function, it still was worked on very well design-wise. So what do you think? Do you like the design? Tell me in the comments. And more colors for you. This one here is sparkling copper gray. Very interesting. It has some kind of copper nuances when you look very closely. Also a very cool color indeed. And this one here is frozen Marina Bay blue. The matte paint. This one looks really striking. I mean, in combination here with the black wheels in 22 inch, maybe a little bit too much, but I would love it for example here the matte blue with bright wheels. Or what's your take on that? But yeah, this is also one of the most, screaming out colors. It's not bright, but still, like, this has a big presence on the road. And this green color is called Verde Hermes. It is special, very unusual to see such a vehicle in that color. Would it be something for you? Tell me in the comments. This is the car key. It's actually light but good quality. And then you close the car here on top and open it like this with the keyless entry and door closing sound. Ah, beautiful. Yeah, that's really nice. And then inside of the doors, also very good material use. This is also Sensatec leather red here, soft and real buttons here, everything very easy to control, Hofmeister King design citation. Also big bottles fit in this side pocket right there. And now big news for the cockpit, you see here one curved integration of that one carrier, but then screens 12.3 on the left, 14.9 on the right. Soon more details to that, if that's a good idea or not. Here's the M Sport steering wheel. I appreciate that we still have real buttons at the steering wheel, so that's straightforward to control. Then about the seats, look at that. This is also big news then for the X7, also available for the X5 by the way. These here are the so-called Sensación seats. They're an evolution of Sensatec, so they're animal-free, but super soft. Look at that, how plush they are. The surface itself feels really great, and they also have this pattern on it, so that looks really amazing. It's available here in black or also in a bright styling. We had it earlier at a different vehicle. In the UK is also the standard to all of that. Actually, is it standard there? Well, you can get it in the UK at least. I checked the configurator. In the US, it's definitely standard, and also great choice. Moving everything forward, uses way more less resource in the whole production process, and it feels even better. So the X7 has never been that comfortable with this new seat here. This is really amazing. In Germany, it's not in the price list or the configurator, but you can just tell the dealer, I want these seats, and then they promise to get it. That's what they told me, at least. So seating comfort is awesome indeed. By the way, the BMW 7 Series, there it is called Veganza, but it is basically the same material. They just use two different brand names for that because they're different suppliers. Here, the X7, X5 and so on, these big SUVs are being built here in the US, in Spartanburg, whereas the BMW 7 Series is built in Dingolfing, so that's in Germany, and then they have a different supplier, but they have the same material quality for the non-animal materials. Really interesting. Here, headroom with 189 or 642, still plenty of headroom left, although we have the panoramic roof, and we have this command driving position here. You feel like king of the road, but without, let's say, exaggerating it. You know, these top high-end luxury brands like, you know, Bentley or Rolls-Royce, sometimes you have the feeling that they're going a little bit over the top. Some appreciate that, but for me, for example, I like a more form of subtle luxury. So not saying like everyone like, oh, look at that, you know, but more being a little bit functional, and this is still somewhat the case here. Maybe not with the infotainment, but we're soon going to talk more about that. So, look at that there. The cockpit looks really clean and cool, I think. Nice wood integration right here, but of course different styling decor elements are available. This looks like modern textile here now. Here, this is the way you control the vents. And there you can have some ambient lighting, so I'm going to show you that. Rear knob still for the volume here in the lower part. Yeah, but then the thing is really with the screens. So there is no separate climate unit available anymore. I did prefer this from the pre-facelift. And here it stays always in that part. Yes, that is somewhat helpful at least, but to control it while driving, I mean, it's okay for such a solution, but it was easier before. That's one of the things I do criticize with this facelift here. And let's take a deeper look here into the software. And this to me is a symbol of over-engineering of the software. Clock 2. It took me a while to figure it out. How long did it take you? It is 25 past 8. Yeah, that's the time actually. And then it switches, you know, like in these, what the fail? Yeah, about that. But I mean, let's take a look at the rest of the software right here. It looks quite amazing actually from the visual part. However, I think it's just overblown. So OS 8 is to me too functional in a way, or it has too many functions. I love the OS 7 especially when I want to have like the consumption figure right here, and then I have to go here, vehicle apps, and then to live vehicle, and then content, and then trip data, and okay, I'm asleep. So yeah, that just takes too much time. I don't get it. Yeah. However, the car internal GPS is still one you can use. Oh, it's a Frank Sinatra drive. Oh, I heard President Obama was also in this hotel here recently. So then let's zoom out. Here we're in Palm Springs. So that's actually pretty cool, very well usable. The CarPlay integration, and that is very well to use, definitely. Interesting thing, definitely. Let's see about the sound system. This is the Harman Kardon sound system, and this gives you a really nice, true, in-depth sound. So yeah, I love that. Wow, that's cool. So I really like to drive the vehicle and listen to music, and at least the volume I can still turn down, and also on the steering wheel I can also put the music up and down. And yeah, I love clicking sounds in the vehicle, right? Because they somehow present a user interface. So you get along with the infotainment system, it's fast enough, but it's more complicated than before. But what about the instruments? Then here, the digital instruments. Let's put that engine alive. Here we go. And then you have left side the speed and right side the RPM. And you can also adjust the things here. For example, the content, what you want to see here. Maybe also some GPS content and so on. Or from the car internal map. And then here, this is then the layout. So you can also change that depending on what you prefer. Here I also prefer the pre-facelift layout. But yeah, you get along with this easily. So it's not an issue or something.
So what we can see here is the head-up display.
Hey, Michelle, don't steal my microphone. So
I'm sorry.
That's my part. What you can see here is the head-up display. Very nice to see. I also put it here to full brightness at the moment. And here a closer look at the ambient lighting. I'm also switching the colors through. Of course, you can even better see that at night. And I also don't dim it at night, that it looks really still kick-ass, yo. So of course Thomas Blue it would be for me, right? So not this one, but definitely indigo. By the way, what I can't show you here at the moment, because I would need web connection here for the smartphone, I don't have that here at the moment. You can have the Apple Maps actually also in the instruments cluster with the Apple CarPlay. Google Maps you can also have there, but only with the Android Auto. But at least you have then one solution each. That's also a helpful thing to have, that definitely. And what I also find cool with this car, you have separate buttons for things, like a separate button at the inside of the door for the rear shades. And I can easily activate or deactivate the rear shades without going deeper into another menu. Just one button here at the inside of the door, and that's it. And, you know, I can control my seat, my own seat, of course, from here. But I can also switch here at the inside of the doors for this so-called gentleman function. And then I can also control the the other seat on the other side. So, you know, when someone gets in the vehicle and says like, I don't know, this is also a cool camera slider in here in this case, right? Goodbye, Michelle. Yeah, so
the most expensive camera slider. So
yeah, the most expensive camera slider. Yeah, these seats are very expensive. So I think it's a cool function that when someone doesn't know, they kind of like, oh, I don't know how to adjust the seat. Like, wait a minute, baby, I can show you how to adjust the seat. Lower middle console here, you can slide this one open. Then adaptive cup holders, they are also very well built. Here still USB-A charger. This one is inductive charging here. It does not have this new function, the air sucked away yet. So the thing is with the inductive charging, it tends to overheat indeed. So I would probably rather use than the cable charging solution. And then this is also new with the facelift. You don't have the real shifting lever anymore. Pro is, it's a more integrated solution. It's cleaner and, you know, have more space in a way visually, but I do prefer the real shifting stick over this one. This looks just digital to me. When I'm in a BMW, I want to have like thing to really touch and feel, you know. This is still, of course, a real deal, but the big one to me was cooler. Here you select the driving modes and the start-stop engine, and it is also equipped always with adaptive air suspension, and you can also see it right here because you can also change the level of the air suspension, but it also does that automatically. For example, when you drive really fast or in sports mode, then it also goes a little bit lower. And then we have the split opening here for the armrest. There we go, with USB-C charging. Rear seating is super interesting indeed. So you can still here electronically control the seats, but you can still touch these buttons. Michelle can show that on your side. So what I'm doing here on my side now, these buttons here, and unlike in the all-new 7 Series where everything is digitalized and you have to slide the seats and control them like with screens in the rear, this is so easy because it's a straightforward solution. And here, that way, for example, when I move the seat to this position, I could still sit here, and then we'll see how much space there will be in the third seating row. But if I have the seat here all the way back on that side here, you can see this is the maximum legroom we get. Of course, it's a long vehicle, it's not the best usage of space overall, but still plenty of space, of course, for tall adults. For me, 1 m 89 or 6'2", and headroom here also still works, even though this is the one with a panoramic roof, of course, from the rear seats. Gives you a great view, and it's so comfortable in the rear here. So this is to me also one of the most comfortable cars in the rear here overall. You can also adjust the back part here in the angle. Here in the front we have mounts for iPad holders, and I think this is also somewhat a better solution than external rear seat entertainment, and so, because when you just put some holders in here and use your own iPad, I think it might be the best solution overall, isn't it? Also, the Sensación material here in the back, it is so soft and high class in quality. So even if just quality and feeling plays a role, I would always go for this one here. It's really the most superb I've seen in the automotive industry yet. Here, this part you can also move down for cup holders then, and they also secure the bottles quite well, and some more space right here. And now it will be very interesting what we can score in the third seating row. But just a quick remark here in the front, USB-C chargers, 2 more, and then you also have a separate climate unit. This one here, when the engine is running, and still works with rear buttons. But once again, the seating comfort here in the rear is really top notch here for the second seating row. And now this button here is to fold the rear part only, and the button below that is for the entry function. And then the front seats moves a little bit forward, therefore it takes a few seconds first. And then this one goes forward and up, and this is also a very easy solution then for an entry. Remember, the alternative to this bench all the way through would be captain's seats in the second seating row. These are also available. Then you have 2 individual seats here in the second seating row, and you can maybe move through the middle. It's quite tight though, so this is maybe the better solution. But then the question is, do you want like 2-2-2 setup or 2-3-2 setup? And this one here with the through bench has the big advantage that you can fold all the things all the way flat. I'll soon show you that from the trunk. The captain seats are a little bit more exclusive. Yeah, but maybe this one is giving you more possibilities. And here the interesting thing is, when I move this seat here forward, as I could still sit there, then I could also somewhat closely fit into the third seating row here. So it is somewhat proof indeed for 7 tall adults. Also headroom is closely but directly working. And you can see here Isofix also for the rear seats, so you could also install some child seats here. Good that they thought of that actually. So indeed, this is probably by this solution here the best luxury SUV people mover also, and even easier of course when you're not that tall, or maybe you have children who don't need like extensive child seat but are already not that tall. It may be something in between. This is like a good use then for the third seating row. And you also have some luxury amenities here in the back, cup holders for example, or also a separate climate unit, even seat heating for the third seating row. Yeah, but I think you gotta check the options list for that. Let's check out the trunk or the boot. It's a split gate here, and this allows us a cool picnic function. For example, you can sit down in here and have a chat with whoever you desire. It's 750 up to 2,120 liters is the capacity. Of course, a little bit less if you use the last seating row. But step by step. This is like, a small cover. You can also just remove that. The width here, you see here, is a little bit more than 1 meter or 40 inches, so that's really cool. And the total height here is a little bit more than 80 centimeters or 32 inches, so very, very usable here. You can see easy storing of the things, and then you can slide them out. So for packing things, it's actually quite nice to have this additional space here. Yeah, this is how you can see how you can remove that thing as well. And then underneath, look at that, there we go. So underneath we have here a storage of that bigger cover and some more space. And this is at the moment here the setup here with the second seating row, and there are different buttons here, for example max luggage. And with the max luggage button it only works when the car is properly powered. Let's see, there we go. Yeah, has enough power yet. So then this one also folds flat. There we go. Takes a while, but looks definitely really amazing. And you can see here, this is then the third seating row. It's all the way flat. That is actually pretty cool. And then you can have individual settings here, or then max people button. And this one then moves everything up. So a very convenient solution. And there again we have the third seating row. This one you just put it up manual. Then you still have some space here left behind the seats. But overall very well usable. Hardly we see a top-end luxury car that is so well usable indeed. The best engine that BMW has to offer is the 3-liter inline 6-cylinder turbo petrol engine. Look at that here, 380 horsepower and 5.8 seconds in the acceleration figure. If you want to go a second quicker, you could also take the 8-cylinder, 4.4-liter 8-cylinder. That is then the M60. However, this one here will be more fuel saving than the 8-cylinder, that's for sure, and it is definitely enough for this vehicle. In Europe, you can also still get the 3-liter diesel. Welcome to Thomas's Luxury Driving Lounge with the BMW X7. Here today, the 40i, the 6-cylinder, and to me the right engine for this vehicle is the most efficient one. You can go like 10 liters or more kilometers, 23 mpg US, 28 mpg UK easily. That's possible. Sometimes even better. Cruise control, straight, not too fast. Here a little bit worse at the moment because we're going uphill. But they have made this engine a little bit more efficient, also worked a little bit, some tweaks here and there, also mild hybrid integration. So going forward also in this case, the 8-cylinder will have more punch, however, so like a second quicker in the acceleration figure. However, it will also use like 5 mpg worth, or like 2.5, 3 liters more per 100 kilometers. So not sure if you want to really have that. Yes, you have a little bit better sound, it's like low frequency growling, but again, to be more efficient, saving some fuel, then of course the 6-cylinder here is way to go. And here we can also show you some acceleration. I'll just do it from a standstill right here. I'll put it to the sports mode. There's one button for that. Also go to the S shifting sports mode and go from 0 to miles. Let's go. 55 miles, and that's a quick acceleration, and that was a nice sound from the 6-cylinder. Yes, the V8 would be more growling, low frequency. That is fun. However, here the 6-cylinder is lighter on the front axle. That's of course also an advantage, and you've seen an acceleration, more than enough power. And that's also the cool thing about the X7. It is a large SUV, but still it doesn't feel too different from driving in an X5 or X6. Yes, they feel a little bit sportier, but since you also have, it's an option or standard with the M60 V8, that rear axle steering, especially at lower speeds. The SUV feels so agile and also has a narrow turning circle because of that. Really good job. And also this anti-roll control. Although we sit upright on the road, we have a great panoramic view to the front when we are passing through some great landscape roads like here. It is amazing still. It doesn't shake up at all. In the sports mode, the adaptive suspension also makes it a little bit stiffer, have more contact to the road. I have a good steering feeling. So I always wonder about that. Is it from you guys in the US plant in Spartanburg that you somehow have a better feeling for that? Because I've been criticizing BMW 3 Series especially, and some of the all new BMW models for losing the steering feel, because they have this new philosophy of making the steering wheel light, so it's supposed to make the car more agile in the feeling.
yeah, I can understand how they mean that, but I don't think so. For me, a BMW has to have a natural steering feeling. And believe it or not, their SUVs have the best steering feeling in the lineup. It's supposed to be the 3 Series, but it isn't, you know? BMW X5 and X7 have probably the best steering in the BMW lineup nowadays. And yeah, that's really astonishing, but it's just the case. And they have a very good steering control feeling over that. So although I'm driving, let's say, the most bulky BMW there is in their lineup, I'm having so much fun here up the road. Of course, you're overtaking this Lincoln Aviator here. It's also one of the competitors. Yeah, and literally it does overtake this one because we have such a great interior build quality. We've seen that earlier. Also, the nice new Sensación seats are also activated the seat cooling here at the moment because it's already quite hot outside here, outside of Palm Springs, outside Palm Desert. What a beautiful area here. Always love to be back here. And of course, also Joshua Tree National Park. It is one of my favorite places. Just been again there yesterday. Oh, we're catching up to an X5. Wow, it's such a great race up the hill, almost like going up Pikes Peak. Yeah, I mean, yes, in a 5 Series sedan, this road would be even more fun. But considering the size, it's still a lot of fun. And we can also go back just to the normal comfort mode, and you can easily go up that here. S shifting mode turns up the RPMs higher. That's why you also hear a little bit more of the RPM. But here in the D mode, it's also just fine. You can relax then a little bit more. Yeah. But also when we are in the somewhat softer steering here, I don't have too much, like sports mode, more resistance. In the comfort mode, not so much resistance in the steering, but still feels natural. And also suspension-wise, it's fine. You can stay in a normal mode. But I think, especially here, that you reduce some G-forces on the body of driver and co-driver. I think it makes sense to go in sport mode when we're going up these winding corners here. And to me, that's the essence here also of a BMW product, that no matter which segment it is in, it does deliver a sporty driving feeling. And they do achieve that also with the X7 here. That's the cool thing. To me, indeed, the 6-cylinder, especially in the corners, feels a little bit lighter. So when you're more running straight, I mean, you're at the big intersection and then you start using the V8, hit the throttle, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's something appealing to our bodies, definitely, especially when you're a car enthusiast. But here for winding corners, I think the 6-cylinder with a less weight does appeal a little bit more. And yeah, as I said earlier, in running straight, cruise control, highway use, it's also giving you some decent mileage considering this size of an SUV, definitely. As for the roundabout visibility, it is, this in this built upright style from the windows, this greenhouse we have around, and therefore the roundabout visibility is quite nice actually. And let's say, like sunshades, yeah, it's efficient to block out some sun, but I want to have more visibility. One press of a button and these blinds go down. So I like the direct user interface. The only thing I indeed have to swallow is that separate climate control. I like to have that down there. There is one possibility for you. If you say you don't need the space of the X7, you're like fascinated by the vehicle, but the X5 is more or less the same besides the third seating row. Yes, the different siding on the exterior. Oh, sorry. Yeah, BMW surely didn't want to hear me saying that. It's more or less the same. Yes, they want to be the X7 more upmarket now, and they do easily achieve a Rolls-Royce or Bentley. They surpass them with that, especially also in the driving part, So it just feels so much better. And this is already an expensive vehicle, but you don't need to pay more money to get a better vehicle. You do not get that then, So this is, to me, probably the best luxury SUV on the market here at the moment. And when there are some others out there which are more expensive, it's not really worth it actually. And yeah, talking about the X5 there in front of us. So if you want a little bit more agile, you don't need the third seating row. You can easily go for an X5. And the sofa version still has the manual climate unit, but already gets here the new Sensación seats I'm sitting on. So this could be a good compromise. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe right now, because soon we will also give you an update on the BMW X5 facelift and see I guess they will also put these screens in there, and then we'll also lose the temperature dials as for that. So we already reached the top here now. I'm going back to the comfort mode. I can also set in here the cruise control, for example. There are different modes to activate, for example, the assisted driving or the distance control. So depending on if you just want to have the car to reduce the distance to the car in front of you, or then the assisted driving mode. Motorway, it's the main use case for that. Here on these winding roads, you see here, yeah, you don't want to trust in it 100%. That's just too fast. It's also not what the system is laid out to. It's more meant for the motorway, and on the motorway it's working very, very well. We also have blind spot monitor in the side mirrors, so all the assistance systems are not too intrusive. So they let you drive the car still, but if you activate them, they work quite flawlessly, just not when we have too many winding roads. But that's the cool thing about this driving party today, that we can show you these beautiful winding roads here and the agile character of this vehicle, which is still present. At the same time, it's just a good cruiser. When it's going straight, you can enjoy hours and hours and hours going on a road trip, go see some national parks, and you always stay fit and activated. Put the seat cooling a little bit higher to stay cool in these seats here, still enjoying the plush comfort. That all works very, very well. So I'm still quite excited about driving this one. Mercedes had to react because recently BMW brought out the X7 facelift with a huge front grille. Well, then Mercedes said, hold my beer, we bring the Mercedes GLS facelift. Here is Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go. And of course, obvious thing, this front grille. Before it was rather classic, a little bit more subtle. Now definitely more screaming out. A little bit also Audi single frame grille, like the outside part. This is Thomas with Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. And full length here means 5 meters 21 or 205 inches. Oh, the cheerleaders here are also testing the vehicles. Well, today you've maybe seen we're in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, where also the Falcons are playing football, of course. And yeah, it's a really great venue here for these vehicles. Pretty exciting. New wheels choices. Also, these ones are the biggest ones, 23-inch, really massive in the styling. In the rear, the facelift brings these new tail lamps, or the signature here in 3-dimensional style. Works very well. And also from the rear, once again, this alpine grey color. AMG line also gets the black contrast in the lower part, and Autogefühl Fake Exhaust Police is always there for you, also in the US, as the fake exhaust cops, because this is a clear case for it. And now to the true AMG model. This is the GLC 63, and it also receives a new front grille and huge vertical fins in there, more prominent styling. The 63 GLS now starts with bigger wheels, 21-inch already, but here you can also, of course, get the 23-inch wheels. In this case here, with this more aerodynamic styling, this will split opinions, won't it? And the GLS, no matter which one, AMG or not, you can always get with these side steps here for a more prominent look as well. In the AMG version, the 63 in the rear, you get this diffuser style, and whoa, another case for the Autogefühl Fake Exhaust cops, because on the outside it looks really massive, but the real exhausts are on the inside. Top sporty end is the GLS 63, the AMG. Top luxury end is here the Maybach version. Listen and repeat, Mercedes Maybach and not Maybach. So we in Germany, we have this thing with the, yeah, I don't know. I grew up with it. And here you can see the side design elements are new with the Maybach logo. That's very interesting. And this grille with the lot of vertical fins. It's just that here, because you need this sensor area there, the sensor is most visible here in the Maybach version in the front. But you here get this typical Mercedes star on top still. Side of the Maybach is special because where you don't see the side step yet, but when you open the door here, well, look at these. These are large, and then you can, for example, also access the rear, because that's what the Maybach is all about. Soon more to that. The Maybach version is not too different in the rear. Here we can see the real naming for it. It's GLS 600 Maybach. 600 indicating something of the power. Let's dig deeper into the engine specs. In Europe, you can also get the 3-liter 6-cylinder diesels. You can also see one here. But the main engine will be the GLS 450, the 3-liter 6-cylinder petrol engine, 381 horsepower. And then you can also go a little bit higher with the GLS 580, the 4-liter V8. And that is then also base for the even stronger top versions. The AMG GLS 63 gets the 4-liter V8 bi-turbo, 612 horsepower plus this mild hybrid boost. 5.2 seconds is then the acceleration figure. All have all-wheel drive, of course, with a rear-wheel bias. And the AMG now gets the AMG badge on top of the hood. The Maybach also gets the 4-liter V8, just with 560 horsepower, but the acceleration figure at 4.2 seconds is the same. And here I have all the 3 key fobs, the AMG, the normal one and the Maybach. The Maybach one is just different at the rear part. AMG looks plain also in the rear. So which one would you go for? Now to the interior. First of all, door closing sound. That sounds lovely, doesn't it? We also have the soft close option here already for the normal GLS. Inside of the doors, I like this one here because here they still move. In the very all-new Mercedes models, you don't have a haptic feedback for these anymore. Here you still have. Nice matte wood here. Then news with the steering wheel. This is like this exclusive steering wheel where you have the shiny surface at the side. But also on the inside you have more hashtag capacitive BS now. This one button field. Not sure if that's a useful upgrade or rather downgrade, I have to say. Seats in the 450, you can also get an Arctic or MBTEX if you want to go animal free. In the higher versions, it's actually not possible. But the seating comfort here is, of course, with this command driving position, is really good comfort in the front. And with 189 or 6'2", you still have a lot of headroom left, even though you went for the panoramic roof here. Interior cockpit overview. This dual screen is very well integrated, I feel. A lot of stress here design-wise on the air vents and matte wood. Nice. We still have manual climate unit with nice clicking sound, and you get updated infotainment now. I feel that the infotainment is now faster, so quicker reactions, more responsive. And you have this new off-road view here, including the off-road camera with a transparent bonnet feature. And if I would move forward, then this area would also be covered with an image, just a past image, and the image around is live. There you can also see basically that something underneath the tires or something, you know. And in the instruments, you have more choices here. For example, new visualizations also with this off-road mode that looks really spectacular. Or you rather go for the classic stylings like here and sport or understated. Yeah, sport view, why not? Middle console here, in this case also with a lot of nice matte wood. Slide this one open and you have the cup holders and inductive charging field. You also have the heated and cooling function here, or cooling and heating, that's the way. This is the way. And then this touchpad here, you can not only control the touchscreen by a touch, you can also use this one here, also possible. This is the drive mode selector. You can go sports mode or normal mode run here. And you can lower the air suspension here or put it higher for off-road use. Interior of the AMG, the GLS 63. Well, the main difference is the steering wheel, because you have here this 2 horizontal spoke design, but also new with the facelift here with the capacitive touch buttons. Cool that you can pick the driving mode directly at the steering wheel. That's my favorite feature, definitely. And also here a microfiber side for the steering wheel. Here you can also see very well how the ambient lighting plays a role. Of course, you can get it also for normal GLS versions, also here and also underneath the screen. Maybach interior, also when you access the driver's door, you can see here these retractable side steps. They fold out, look at that, opening the door, and there we go. And that's then, giving you easier access. Inside of the door, you can see here you can get exclusive decor materials or also new stylings. This also the two-tone scheme for the steering wheel. But the rest of the differences are in the front. Not so dramatic. Rear seating, you can see this is the setup with a through bench that goes all the way through. You can also opt for a captain seat setup. Then you would have the individual seats left and right. So depending on which seat configuration do you need or want. Legroom here to the front seats, totally fine, really more than sufficient, a lot of space, and also headroom for the rear passengers, no problem. You can also get rear entertainment here, but maybe nowadays you would rather just put your own iPad here. What's your take on that? Please tell me in the comments. And the seat bench goes a little bit backward. You can also adjust, for example, here front and back. Also the back part of the seat also electronically adjustable, and everything will also be able to, to fold them electronically from the trunk. In the middle part, well, there's a small middle tunnel, but you can sit comfortably also on the middle part. So this is indeed for a lot of people on the inside the biggest Mercedes SUV model. Here, this middle part you can also fold down. More screens are available. They're optional, inductive charging pad and so on. But even more luxurious, it will soon be in the Maybach version. To access the third seating row, there's a button right here, and then you can fold this whole thing. You see here the front seats move forward as well. Then this one goes up, and then you can crouch to the rear. Well, if you have the captain seat set up, you can also go through the middle then to the last seating row. But the question is always how much space is left then. See, this way I could still sit in the third row, but then in the second row, there's hardly any leg room left. Maybach version in the rear, the GLS, have the champagne cooler, the fridge in the rear. And then you have this split seat, middle console. You can also fold down these tables. For example, then you can, switch them around right here. Be careful with the rear seat entertainment. And then for your laptop, for example, that is quite cool. And then the most impressive feature is putting everything for maximum space. There's a button here also, and then the front seat goes forward. Nice ambient lighting integration here as well. And also the footrest comes up. And of course, when you have manners, take off your shoes. And then you can also enjoy this calf rest here. Wow, this is pretty cool indeed. These microfiber cushions are my favorite. Trunk area here in the 7-seater configuration, some more space underneath. And then we have this magic button here for all in the rear. And this actually, whoa, we've seen that, folds down the head restraints, and then everything goes flat. Wow, that went really quick, didn't it? So you can also remove this top part here then manually, and there we go, wow. And one more time, when we fold everything up again, that looks also pretty cool, doesn't it? Which one would you go for? Tell me in the comments. My favorite is indeed this new Alpine grey color with the GLS 450 then. I would go for that one. That would be my spec for today. And then also with the Artico or MBTEX on the interior. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the Mercedes GLS. And I promised you to take it on the German motorway because we tested first time in Utah in the US. And it was an amazing ride, definitely. And what a beautiful landscape. Not the desert Utah, but more like, the Salt Lake, close Utah. And here we have the possibility to floor it out, whereas in the US we could test other things. From 50 kilometers an hour, flying start, let's go. Plop, that's 200 kilometers an hour or 125 miles per hour. Yeah, switching a lane is not a good idea then when such a GLS tank is approaching. And wow, that was amazing power of that V8 engine. Whee. Okay, that's where you feel the difference, V8 and the inline 6. But you've also seen in the other video we have from the inline 6-cylinder. It also has a decent performance, definitely. Here, of course, even more, better V8 sound. What is interesting, when we put it to this curve mode of the E-active body control and do lane change, the car really remains upright. And for such a heavy SUV with the air suspension, really unusual, but interesting then in this driving characteristic. So when we put it to the comfort mode, then you would definitely see, it leans a little bit more, like shakes a little bit up more. But still, even in the comfort mode, it remains relatively upright. At the same time, you have really good comfort. So I think they found a good suspension setup here. The curve mode is not really necessary, and it's also an additional extra. So I think you can save the money right there. With the GLE, it makes more difference. It really makes the car lean inside the corner. But once again, I feel normal air suspension, leave it like it is. Don't add extra any more complexity to it. The e-active body control has, like this special feature that you can move individual wheels and so on for off-road situations, or like this, shaking free in the sand. But usually, most of the time, you don't really need it. Nice ambient lighting here also while driving. You can see it from the perspectives all the way around the vehicle. One of the best ambient lightings at the moment under the screen, and also then here in the central way. Putting it warmer, then you see it turns to red. Putting it colder, it turns to blue anyway. But yeah, I've set it always to blue, of course, Thomas Blue. And then this is a really nice feature they added here. So sometimes, and then when you, for example, activate the seat massage. Let's go here to the comfort settings, and then hot relaxing back, hot relaxing shoulder, activating massage, classic massage, activating massage, maybe I don't fall asleep, and you think just, why don't I just keep driving, like wherever, just keep driving with no destination or something. So that's to me the coolest thing about this vehicle. Brings so much riding comfort, and you don't have to think about what's like next, what's tomorrow, and relax a little bit while enjoying this seat massage, which is really a good function here. So some seat massage you can say like, whatever, they don't do that much, but it's really cool with the different programs as well. And also when it's cold, then put it like either to the direct program with hot relaxing back or shoulder, or activate the seat heating here directly at the inside of the doors, which is also very well placed as for the button. Here we're being in the corner, normal comfort mode, also easy steering of that vehicle. So it's really one of the vehicles at that size that is the easiest to ease around. So even if you're not experienced with driving big vehicles, it's so easy to drive this vehicle. That's really cool. Camera systems, of course, as well. But then again, you have to take the overall length into account, and for European roads is sometimes tough. You'll, I'll also talk about that when I drive this car in city traffic and so on. But overall, what a monster performance-wise, especially with the V8. I can already tell you the inline six-cylinder is also quite good in performance, and it's right-sized for this vehicle, I think. At the same time, one of the kings of comfort, no doubt. And one more time, while I still enjoy the activating massage, comfort to sport, then to Sport Plus mode, RPMs are turned up higher, gears are already lower, and when we are already at speed, 1 kilometers an hour, let's put this rolling activating massage once again to speed. Let's go. That's 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles per hour, so as well 60 to 125 miles. And once again, I think really cool, good performance. And the car also feels so easy to handle when it is at speed. So that's really amazing. Here, lane change at higher speed, really stable, good in control, good braking feel as well. And 170, 180 kilometers an hour here, and it's really, really silent. So the noise insulation is also just superb. On the brakes. There the weight comes into play, So when you're really a little bit hard on the brakes, then you have to keep the car also in check. At some point, you cannot deny physics. And what about some city driving here with the GLS? And first of all, you have to say for European roads, it's really too big. So when I think about parking in and out of a basement garage or something, you really have to go like front, back, front, back, front. It's like, will I ever get out here? So and in the US at least, in the non-New England states, you have enough space also to move this beast around here, definitely. The V8, of course, gives you also a lot of calmness when you just keep it, rolling and so on, and you can keep it really at low RPM. But then again, it's not the biggest difference then to the V6. That would be more than what we experienced on the motorway. But if you think about the fuel economy then, here like 13.5 liters on 100 kilometers is a realistic consumption value. And that would be about 18 mpg US or 22 mpg UK. And if you then think about that, the 6-cylinder is quite efficient, and you can rather drive it with 9 to 10 liters on 100 kilometers, so about like 6-7 miles per gallon more. Yeah, and also the extra price, like more than 20,000 euros or dollars more for the 8-cylinder. Of course, the 8-cylinder is fun to drive, yes, but the 6-cylinder also brings less weight and has also good performance and, as I said, better economy. So, and then if you think about the extra price, and also that only in the 450 at the moment you can get the 3-color Artico seats from Works, I think the choice is quite clear then that the 6-cylinder is the more clever choice. Here these different suspension modes, comfort of course with the air suspension, really comfortable like that. The special curve mode, once again, when being in the city, it's not, for my feeling, not as extremely tuned like in the GLE. The GLE leans more inside the corner, and I'll talk to the engineers and they did that intentionally. So the GLS does not give you this super leaning in the corner feeling. It's more that the car just stays upright and you don't feel it's leaning to the outside. But it feels a little bit more responsive by that. But honestly, I would rather have put this car with the rear axle steering. That would have made turning circle and also like parking in and out easier. So I would prefer the rear axle steering over this curve mode where the car is leaning into the corner, I think. Also, I think that when you have this curve mode activated, I feel the suspension is somewhat less comfortable just in running straight. So if you think E-active body control, does it make sense to go for it? I think not. I think it's not worth the extra price. I would just stick then with the normal air suspension and most of the time drive it in comfort mode. Sports mode, I mean, if you hammer it really down, like, if you hammer the throttle down, you also have a very good acceleration. Not necessarily need to go into sports mode. Sport mode, once again, also, makes the suspension a little bit stiffer, steering a little bit more responsive, but it's not the biggest difference then. So usually fitting to this vehicle, just cruising, enjoying the silence, enjoying the comfort. The comfort mode is also the real fitting one. Something I also mentioned in the interior part is when I'm just like driving relaxed like this here, left elbow here on the soft cushion on the left, which can also be heated and with an extra heating pack. That's really interesting. And on the right side then, when I want to use the heating of the central console here, I need to drive, like this with my elbow back from the steering wheel, that I can feel the heat of this. So I'm not even really sure, like, what's the use of that. I mean, maybe, for the co-driver, but for the driver, the thing is that you have your elbow right here, and this is exactly where the hard part of this middle console is, and when the soft part begins behind your elbow. So that's a little bit of a interior miscalculation as for the ergonomics or so. Yeah, I think we can easily live with that. Comfortable air suspension, good comfort also when the road is bumpy. Steering is really soft, as you can see here, not too progressive as we know from Mercedes, so you have to steer more than with the Volkswagen AG vehicles or with BMW. It's not necessarily good or bad. I found it progressive better, but that's my personal opinion. Maybe someone else likes to have a more comfortable driving when just running straight and doesn't appreciate that it turns too much, but overall it feels quite natural and it's totally fine. I also have this EQ charge meter or this EQ power meter, so there's also mild hybrid for the V8 here. But if it's really helping fuel economy wise, maybe a little, but it doesn't make the biggest difference, honestly. Other than that, considering it's a huge vehicle, it's still fun to drive it also in, in normal street traffic and so on, because it gives you this very sovereign feeling. And if I now compare it to the all-new Mercedes S-Class here, when you also decide between GLS and S-Class. This MBUX infotainment system with this, version as it is right here, and also the control input on the steering wheel and so on, this has still the non-capacitive steering wheel, with the real buttons. I found this car so much easier to handle than the all-new S-Class, which, you more feel like being driven by the car. This one here, more direct. Like this, at some point, more automatization. I mean, if you automatize everything, okay, for autonomous driving, but yeah, something in between, not sure if that's the right step. Another 50 to 90. About that. Yeah. That's where the V8 comes handy, but yeah, once again, the inline 6-cylinder is also a very nice engine, and especially in the US, I've scored so great consumption figures with it. Must have been the missing particle filter thing as well. Yeah, that's sometimes the case that we have a better fuel economy with the cars in the US than because there are less filters installed. Now you're on the motorway, like with limited speed, and as for the assistance systems, cruise control setting here on the left, and that's so easy. Please just keep it. Why have to update the E-Class facelift? New S-Class with these capacitive buttons on the steering wheel. Looks cool, but feels cheap and also hard to use. Here, setting the cruise control, all good, all easy. Then we also have the active lane keeping assist in here. And it's not too intrusive actually. And even here in the construction lane, where the yellow markers are not usual for Germany, no problem for that vehicle. Here, yeah, keeps it really centralized, and I can really trust in that. Of course, never take your hands off the steering wheel. This was just for demonstration purposes, and I was always ready to react. And once again, so calm and collected, this vehicle. However, if you now compare it to the competitors, like a BMW X7, or Audi doesn't have like the longest direct competitor, would be more than the Audi Q7, which comes close to it. The Audi and the BMW more feel driver involved, whereas the GLS then, in comparison to the competitors, also again feels more like you are being driven by the vehicle. And this also depends on what you prefer. If you more, appreciate this laid-back approach and enjoying more like a passive luxury, or if you want a more active luxury than as Audi and BMW do offer. So that's a little bit different, unique positions. And I always say, like from this more passive or more comfortable, soft approach, it's more like Mercedes is here, Audi, BMW, and then Mercedes AMG. Because the AMG versions, they're really, really stiff and rough in the riding. So they have, I always say that Mercedes has the biggest jump from their non-sporty to their AMG models directly. Whereas Audi and BMW make it more, in small transitions from their normal light performance models and the real performance models and so on. Switch to the right lane. Always nice to do lane change here. It's also quite fun to do that, definitely. Then traffic sign recognition sees it's now 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour, automatically increase the speed and puts the speed. And this head-up display is really large, so huge, this head-up display in the projection, and also quite clear and crisp. I think I remember some GLE or GLS where it wasn't that crisp at first. Maybe they tweaked that a little bit, so I'm really happy with that, definitely now. So, once again, one of the most relaxing and, on the point, comfortable big SUVs here on the market. Today we have an all-new large Lexus SUV for you. This is the Lexus TX. The first time we see that one out here. And the question is, how does it fit into the Lexus SUV lineup, and how does it rate against the competitors? For example, the Mercedes GLS or the BMW X7. How good is it? We're going to find out here with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go here with this. Wow, look at that front. And also look at that landscape here outside Joshua Tree National Park in California. So beautiful. And we even got our own bungalow here for you today for this beautiful location. If you want to rent out that one yourself, we'll also put a link in the pinned comment. That's also a very beautiful place to stay, definitely. Here, look at that front. It almost looks like a train approaching, doesn't it? And then here above, these headlamps, like with this, samurai sword drawn, really spectacular. I think it also works with the rest of the Lexus design language, and so lovely because this one is registered in Texas. We do not have a front license plate, and that makes this front, of course, even cleaner. So inside the Lexus SUV lineup, where does it sit? This one is actually a successor of the Lexus RXL. There is the SUV, the RX, also in the new generation. We recently shown it to you. The RXL was the longer version for that with the third seating row, but didn't have a longer wheelbase, so didn't make much more sense. Now, an own model with more wheelbase to fit a third seating row. This is kind of like the Lexus family SUV. And as I said, against the Mercedes GLS or the BMW X7. And it kind of sits then in this crossover SUV direction, whereas the Lexus GX and the LX are the large Lexus SUVs, which also have more off-road capabilities. Pretty cool here how the turning indicators replace the daytime running light. It looks really fancy, isn't it? And also really wide and visible. However, the main headlamp unit, especially when I was driving around here, the Joshua Tree or Yucca Valley area, I think that the main headlamp unit needs a little bit more power. I tend to always use the high beam actually, because the main headlamp unit was not that powerful, I feel. So that maybe needs to be upgraded a little. So the length here is 5.16 meters or 203 inches. That's really full-size SUV, at least for my European taste. And the interesting thing is now, if we compare the RXL from the previous generations, this one here now has 15 centimeters or 6 inches longer wheelbase. If we compare the current generation RX, still 4 inches or 10 centimeters longer wheelbase, that the third seating row really makes sense this time. What do you think about the design, by the way? I found it really beautiful because it is so simple, straight lines to give you more space on the inside. And I always like simple design with vehicles. Wheels 20-inch or optional 22-inch. These are the optional 22-inch wheels. And I think they look really well, especially in this kind of spider design here. Fits well also to the black color, called Caviar, by the way. In the rear, the design is kind of boxy again. I don't know, what about you? I love boxy designs. It's maybe also my German Bauhaus preference as for the architecture, but Lexus does it here very well too. And the light strip goes all the way through, left to right. Looks also clean and beautiful. And hey, we also have a Texas number plate. Look at that. And this very well fits to the TX name. If you're not coming from the US, let me explain. TX is the state abbreviation for the state of Texas. So it's kind of like a homage from Lexus to the Texas state. Hyundai did it with the Santa Fe and the Tucson, for all the New Mexico fans. And this, does really fit to Texas and the whole style of the vehicle also. Everything's bigger in Texas, so everything's bigger here also with the Lexus TX. And our friends from the Straight Pipes, best greetings to you, they also made their thumbnail directly saying Lexus Texas. I found that very funny, guys. Rear turning indicators, however, rather disappointing, aren't they? Key fob is nothing special, pretty much standard. Then doors, let's listen to the sound. Actually quite good. Then inside of the doors, well, to have brown in here, maybe matter of preference. This is also the optional Mark & Levinson sound system. We're going to test that one later. The door opening logic is here. You press this one in like this. It's like this electronic release. And if you would need a manual failsafe, then you would pull these here twice. Seats, as for base trim and F Sport, they get the new Lux leatherette material in black, grey or brown. Here, however, is the animal skin equipment in the luxury trim. And besides the animal aspect, the new materials are also better in the practicability features nowadays. Seat ergonomics, however, is really good. Upright seating position, very comfortable, and headroom here with 189 or 6'2". Still a lot of headroom left, although this one is even the version with the panoramic roof. And there is, first of all, need to turn on the ignition. First of all, a large shade available. That's of course important, especially when you live in Texas. Here, there we go. And then you can also, wow, that goes really wide. And then you can open the whole thing. No, hold there. There we go. So that's pretty cool, and we have been testing that even on the highway, and 50 miles an hour, like 90 kilometers an hour, is really fine to drive it. It's not too loud. At 60, 65 miles an hour, so above 100 kilometers an hour, then you start thinking, hey, I might close that. But I think it's an overall great result, because most other panoramic roofs need to be closed way earlier because it's getting too loud, so well done here as well. Interior cockpit overview, really nice. We have a microfiber insert right here. This here, this and this is soft touch. Build quality wise, what I saw as flaw is here when you touch the middle console with your leg, the sound, squeaking sound, you see like everything is also moving there, so this should be better. After all, this is basically the Lexus version of a Toyota Grand Highlander, platform wise. USB-C charging, then the steering wheel can be moved up and down, in and out quite quickly, and that's making a good impression. And then here, 12.3-inch digital instruments. You get them together in a tech pack with the head-up display. And on the right side, always 14-inch screen right here. And this is very interesting. Look at that. They are using the screen, but then adding physical elements that basically control the screen for you. So you have this blending of digital and manual user interface. Why not? What do you think about this solution? This has also been used in other new Lexus models and the Ford Mustang Mach-E. Then the screen itself has either this nighttime mode or this bright mode, but I prefer the dark mode. It looks more classy, I feel. You can also have it automatically switching. Then here for the heated steering wheel or the heated seats or the cool seats, but you can also leave that in auto function, then with temperature detection. And then these are the normal vehicle settings, like the drive mode. You can also drive in the sport mode, more throttle input and so on. So this is not that relevant when you don't have the F Sport. In the F Sport, then also suspension would actually change with the adaptive suspension. And you also have a car internal GPS like this. It is usable and it guided us very well outside of the Los Angeles traffic. However, it could be a little bit quicker in the responsiveness times, as you see. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Here the CarPlay works wired or wireless. And also the Mark & Levinson sound system. It's actually pretty cool. Not exactly when it's really silent, but when you really have it on loud music, then you discover the whole glory of this system. Good. Real buttons at the steering wheel. This is here the inductive charging pad. It's not cooled though or vented. But then you can also slide it away and then you have more storage underneath. These here are the adaptive cup holders, really large, and you can also unlock them and then just pull everything out for this vast open area. Middle armrest is really plush, and then split opening and a lot of space underneath. Legroom, when I am driving here as a tall driver, there's still some legroom left. However, you can see that the rear seats are pretty tall here in the rear, so it's really suitable for children, that they don't feel lost actually. As an adult, you have the feeling that you sit quite high. However, it still works here with the headroom, still have some space over my head. I can also slide these seats here forward like this. It's like a 1/3, 2/3 split. You can also do the same here on this side with this lever here, like go forward and backward. Soon going to show you the access to the third seating row. Then you can slide down this one here with adaptive cup holders. And it's really comfortable here also in the rear. You also have this control unit where you have USB-C charging and also an own climate unit for the rear. So what can I do here now? With this lever here, I can change the angle of the back part of the seat. That is one. Then I can also use this one to slide this one forward here manually. However, for more comfort, I can also press a button here on top of the seats. Then it's like an electronic help, and I can slide this one forward for an easier access to the third seating row. Or then as the last option, when I pull this one or I use the top one and I want to put this one here even flatter, then I pull this lever then, and then I can start it back like this. So, and then I can fold it flat
for, loading through with the trunk and so on. And now I crouch into the third seating row. This is the moment where I find these comments with time code, Thomas in the third seating row. And the question is now, how do I do the shoe tap that I don't make the interior dirty in the rear? It's not possible actually from this position, so I think I'd rather take off my shoes. So there we go. And then let's close the door. And the question is, first of all, it's actually quite cozy in the rear. It even works with my headroom. But the question is, there's also controls from here. I can control the back part of the seat here. Oh, wow. That's nice. But the biggest question is, what about the legroom? So first of all, when here the rear bench is all the way back, like no one saw or heard that. So when the rear bench is all the way back, then of course it gets, really close here with the legs. However, we could now slide this bench there a little bit forward. It would still work with the legroom. So I wouldn't exactly say it's maybe like, for everyone super tall adults. But I think for short trips, it would work actually to house 7 tall adults here. Remember, we have 2 possibilities, like this here for most passenger use, 7-seater. You could also get a 6-seater, then with the 2 captain seat set up here in the second seating row. But overall, there's very good space and also kind of flexible that you, for example, here can control this one here electronically. I can also have this, folding mechanism here at the back part of the seat, so I can actually unlock myself that way. I think the best setup would be then indeed when I put this one here in a way, maybe up to here, and maybe do it like this, not all the way back. I think I could barely still sit then there, and so it would work more or less for 7 tall adults. Overall, a good result. Most cases probably the kids will be then back here in the rear. And also good, we also have ISOFIX here at the third seating row, so you can also use these one for child seats. And for the second seating row, you have either top tethers, and you also have here low these anchors as well in the front. So if I count correctly now, that would make 5 possible child seats here in this vehicle. That's quite good actually. Now the question is if Leah is gonna let me here rot in the third row, or if you could please let me out. Well, wait a minute. No, I have these buttons here. I can let out myself here. Here we go. And I also appreciate this simple but useful feature. These manual shades for the rear seats, and you see it also goes really wide. Yeah. The wind is picking up now. Let's check out the trunk or the boot. 20 cubic feet or 570 liters behind the third seating row, and here is extremely wide, like 130 or 51 inches in width here, so that's astonishing. You can see you can even store luggage when all the seating rows are up. And then you have practical features, for example here. So when hitting these buttons here, these ones put it up, and putting them low, then you can put them down. You can see here, you almost think, that will crash soon, but then in this moment here, the head restraints fold down. This is all electric, and then we can have this setup here with 57 cubic feet or 1,630 liters. That's the way. This is the way. So then we have the length here at about 130 in meters or 52 inches. That's really good. And then of course we can even still fold these, but for that we have to go around. Here we go. This is then the maximum setup. You can put down this as well. And towing capacity, by the way, up to 5,000 pounds. And here you can see the enormous width of the trunk, and even when the third seating row is up, Leah can fit in there basically, and have a break between the shooting. One of the things I found most interesting is the price. $55,000 entry price here with the TX350. That's the entry level engine. That's just $3,000 more expensive than the RX, but then you get so much more of a vehicle, and also that's like half the price of a Mercedes GLS or a BMW X7. Astonishing, isn't it? And then this engine here, the 350, is a 2.4 liter turbo petrol engine, 275 horsepower, around 7 seconds in the acceleration figure,
4-cylinder, and I think that's actually enough. You get either front-wheel drive or optional electric all-wheel drive, and we could score some 27 mpg US with that one, predominantly highway driving, 60 miles an hour, 100 kilometers an hour, so that's like 32 mpg UK and like 9 liters on 100 kilometers. Of course, it will be a little bit worse when you have more city traffic and so on. Alternatively, you could take this base engine here, the 2.4 liter 4-cylinder turbo, and go with the inbuilt hybrid system. That is then the 500H. So this would give you a little bit better mileage. However, it's also a little bit higher in the entry price. This one always comes with electric all-wheel drive. And you also get a 3.5 liter V6 plug-in hybrid, then with a naturally aspirated V6. That one is actually the most powerful one. But then again, it would also be higher in price, 18 kilowatt hours gross battery. So maybe like 50 kilometers, 30 miles of pure electric range. So I said $55,000 as an entry price for this one here, the 350. This very vehicle here with all the equipment, extras inside and so on, $69,000. Of course, more than the base price, yes, but still in comparison to the competition and also what you get for this one in comparison to the RX, I think quite a good deal for a large premium SUV. Or what do you think? So let's see. Sport mode and some acceleration. Let's go. 30 miles. Yep, that's 60 miles an hour. So that was 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. Yeah, pretty decent, right? So quite quick. And you also heard that the sport mode, when you use that one, that really boosts the vehicle, the RPMs go higher and so on. You switch it here in the infotainment system, so most of the time probably you will not do that and just drive in the normal mode. However, when you pin it down, then of course you also have all the power you need. Here then, let's check out, this is here front wheel driven. So when I accelerate hard out of the corner, yeah, see here it was also a little bit sandy, so tires need a little bit to get the grip, but you saw that the steering actually was pretty calm overall, so no hectic movement from the steering, although it was accelerating out of the corner. Of course, the sporty side is not the emphasis of this vehicle. The real emphasis is, of course, the comfort. So when running straight and so on, suspension. So when everything is rather flat as for the asphalt in front of you, it's really likable, even though we have the 22-inch wheels here. If you want it even more comfortable, you should stick with the 20-inch wheels. And I especially recommend it when you live in an area where the roads are a little bit worse. So, for example, when I was driving inside LA and there were a lot of potholes and so on, then I felt that the suspension did not suck away these potholes that well. So this would be, for example, something when you ask, hey, you pay less money than for the big German SUVs like Mercedes GLS or BMW X7. Is there anything you get less from that? Of course, entering school. Oh, interesting. The GPS is always giving me like heads up. For example, here entering school zone where you reduce the speed when children are present. Also was covering HOF lanes yesterday when we were driving around LA area. So that was actually a pretty helpful thing then from the GPS. So back to the suspension. I feel that the Germans have this better balance of agility and comfort at the same time. Here it's more set on comfort, not so much on the driving fun. We'll later on, by the way, do some more riding corners. But also when there are potholes and so on, the suspension is not the best. It might be different with the F Sport suspension, because that one is an adaptive one. At the same time, it's also set on a sportier note, so we would have to compare that one to one. That would be very interesting, definitely. But suspension-wise, this is something where Lexus is not as good as the Germans. Then again, they lead the reliability rankings always together with Toyota. So that's of course something when you buy one and have it long term, which is also super, super important. Steering, by the way, is pretty nice and direct. There's no dead zone area. Let's compare it here in the driving modes again. Sport mode. The throttle input changes directly, but steering, yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Actually for me, cooler in sport mode. So sport mode definitely gives you a little bit more feedback with the steering than the normal mode. And you could also, for example, go into a custom mode and have some, some custom presets. So that would also be possible. Yeah, but overall, for me, one of the most important things is that there's a good noise insulation. So drive here like 55 miles an hour, so like close to 100 kilometers an hour. And here we have it really, really silent. Good insulation, and you can enjoy the nature here outside Joshua Tree National Park. Such a beautiful desert landscape, and there's hardly anything outside, although it's a very, very windy day today. So that's cool, running straight. And this panoramic front screen, you have such a good view from the inside to the outside. I mean, look at that. I'm not sure if you can really see that from that camera here. It's such a clear, visible view, and you have so much space. You can really look out the front. So this makes it, to me, also a very cool traveling vehicle. Assistance systems. Look at that here. I have the adaptive cruise control with active lane keeping assist. And this is also guiding me through these corners. There's the blind spot monitor. So here in the side mirror, they have a light. And is it a good system or is it excellent? I would say good, not excellent, because here, in these corners, it's guiding me quite well, actually. That's okay. Sometimes the movements are a little bit too hectic, talking on a very high level, There are worse systems, but there are also better systems. And sometimes I feel here, for example, I'm too close to the left lane. That happens, so I needed to correct myself now. And also, what sometimes also happened is that when you're going straight and the line is not that visible, then it was going like this a little bit. So overall, I would say assistance systems good, but not excellent. In these corners, when I take over myself, it's actually quite fun. So you don't feel the size or the weight of the vehicle that much. That would only apply to very, very tight corners. What you have to get used to maybe when you switch over from a smaller SUV or something is the braking time and also the reaction from the brake pedal. It is requiring some work indeed, so you really have to put pressure on the brake pedal. Then you have an okay feeling, but maybe, we as humans, we sometimes tend to underestimate the, the braking distance. And so I think it's sometimes better when the brakes are a little bit more aggressive, not maybe in the very first, few centimeters, but then that they get a little bit more aggressive, that you're safer in an emergency situation. Because also when you need full braking power, most of the time we don't hammer it in that much as needed, like in real emergency braking. So I think it would be helpful if the vehicle would be a little bit more aggressive from the brakes here. But overall you get used to it, and then it's actually also fine. What? Thomas, why have you changed clothes and also glasses now in 5 minutes 3 times in a row? Sorry about that. Here in the deserts area, the temperatures is constantly changing and depends on sun and time of the day and so on. Now it's a little bit later, and I want to show you this great uphill. We've been using this one here for the BMW 7 Series review and also for the Mercedes EQS AMG review. So it's a beautiful road up the hill, up to the Coachella viewpoint. So it's a beautiful vista point as well. I can only recommend that to you. And here we're driving like 50 miles an hour uphill, and it's surprisingly fun. I mean, I said that the steering feel is actually quite good. Just in the normal mode, that's absolutely fine. That's right, by the way, the thing. So at the moment, I could not safely switch the driving mode while I'm driving myself, because I need to finger around in that touchscreen there, and I would not do that here in these fast corners. But this is really a lot of fun to put it up the hill. So yes, when you're braking into tight corners, then it would... Oh, thank you, Leah. Sport mode, please.
Hey, Leah.
Yeah, hey Leah, sport mode, please. Yeah, she's the best voice assistant, I can tell you. So here now, sport mode, a little bit more throttle, definitely a little bit more RPM. The steering is also a little bit crisper, but it's really a lot of fun to put it up there. So I would have imagined they say yeah, okay, they feel it's just on comfort and so on, but especially when it's a little bit higher speed and it's a little bit more floating corners, then it's really a lot of fun. It's only, again, when I say you're braking in to tight corners, then there's of course at some point limit, and then, for example, especially a BMW X7 would feel more agile. But here up the hill is actually a great job. It's so much fun. So positively surprised by that. Can also master this discipline, and you also see how it looks like when it's a little bit darker. The only thing I told you earlier, when it's really super dark and the main headlamp unit I think needs a little bit more distance, that would be actually cool, that you don't need to use high beam all the time, because at some point maybe there might be some vehicles that you blind and then you don't want to drive with high beam all the time, of course. Yeah, that would be the only thing. Wow, what a view. Look at that, guys. So beautiful. Wow. Sunsets in the deserts is really one of my most favorite things. And yeah, driving it up here, you really forget that you're driving a large SUV. Should Volvo still build the XC90? Watch this review and then tell me in the comments, because recently they have launched the EX90. This is the all-electric version, so it is somewhat a successor of this one here, but a direct successor will not happen because Volvo will go all-electric eventually. This one is still their large SUV in the petrol lineup or with the plug-in hybrid as we have it here today. So is this one here still a legit gem in the SUV segment? Or is it maybe even better from this Volvo generation? We're going to find out with Thomas on Autogefühl in full screen, 4K. Wait a minute, I always say 4K, full screen, fully. Let's go. Here with the front. It's called Ultimate Bright, this whole trim level with the bright chrome fins here and so on, together with the denim blue color. Yeah, I think I nailed this one today, didn't I? You know, this is also one of my hobbies, to dress accordingly to the car color. Always when I know the car color. Sometimes I don't. Thor's Hammer LED lamps, and when you hit the turning indicator, then also there they appear. So I think it's always a beautiful structure. In comparison to the nowadays electric vehicle styling, which is more about aerodynamics, this one here really stands upright as an SUV as we know it. 4.95 meters or 195 inches is the length of the XC90, and we can still see this really large greenhouse, upright windows. Once again, a true difference to the new EV models, which are also a little bit, you know, tighter here and everything about aerodynamics. 19-inch to 22-inch. These ones here are 20 inches, somewhat in between. Let's see how that one performs with the air suspension today. Classic Volvo SUV tail lamp style in this vertical styling, and you can even see from the exterior how much space there is on the interior. Let's see more about the interior right now. Key fob is actually nothing special. Then the door closing sound. It's actually quite good. And then inside of the doors with a nice dual tone styling here. And I love this matte wood insert. Feel that also. Some say it's old school to have matte wood, but I just love it. What do you think? Tell me in the comments. Then we have this Bowers & Wilkins sound system here. We'll also take a look at that very soon. And on the interior, you also have this two-tone scheme available. You don't have to go for it. The base versions would also have a leatherette steering available, by the way, as well as for the seats. But here in the higher T8 trim, they usually only offer animal skin, in parts at least. It's a mix, actually. There, the EX90, of course, offers more animal-friendly solutions already. Then getting inside, you have this upright seating position, a lot of space, and it's so different to the new, all-new SUVs because everything is upright. You have a lot of headroom, even with 189 or 6'2", and yeah, you just feel this large greenhouse when you're sitting down here. Interior cockpit overview. They updated some things, soon more to that. First of all, you can also get this leatherette dashboard. That's actually pretty cool, nice quality. And for example, if you compare to the very early versions, here we have the new shifting lever that is a little bit more stylish, I would say. You're also nice with the matte wood inserts, and you can slide this one open like this for the cup holders, for example. And this infotainment system, well, maybe the new vehicles offer a larger infotainment system, but inside has been updated, because here you also have the native Google Maps support here, Android Automotive based system now. And yeah, actually it's very decent that you have this inbuilt in your vehicle. Pretty easy setup. As for the menu structure, just for the climate, you always have to choose it here in the lower part. For for the vent strength and then for the temperature, or when it's like this, you control the temperature here. Not too easy to do also for seat heating and the heated steering wheel. Yeah, I would like physical dials there. And you also have the Apple CarPlay integration. There we can also test this sound system. Wow, it's really great. I love that Bowers & Wilkins sound system in here, especially with a special feature, because when you go here to the options list, then you can pick this Gothenburg concert hall, and it sounds weird on radio, but cool with music definitely. And the Apple CarPlay integration, by the way, when you hit the map here, is actually a little bit quicker than it is with the inbuilt Google Maps, so maybe not the latest hardware behind it. Also new software here for the digital instruments. For example, you can also have this map view on the inside, but only from the car internal GPS. And you can also get a proper head-up display. And under the armrest, the cable connection then for the smartphone. And to this large greenhouse concept also counts this. First of all, nice bright ceiling here with the microfiber, then the bright cover as well, and so much space above and next to your head. That's what I love about this vehicle. And you can still open this one. You know, the latest EVs and so on, they usually have the fixed panoramic roofs, which I don't really understand. I would rather go for one that you can open or then go for a closed roof. But the fixed glass roofs, yeah, is always pro and cons to that, definitely. What do you think? Rear doors, soft material, also the nice matte wood. And then we have a manual shade here, especially for the kids. So good build quality here. And then the legroom here. As the seat as I would be driving, there's not so much legroom left considering the length, but it works for tall adults. The seats are all pretty high, so I think they more thought about kids here, definitely in the rear bench, which is of course fitting to the whole concept of the vehicle, because this is here then the outside seats. By the way, here you can adjust the back part here a little bit. And then we'll soon also go to the third seating row. Here in the middle seat, this is really interesting. Look at that. This is this integrated child seat. You can push it up like this. Yeah, and then you have this, somewhat child seat for the not too small ones. Also a practical thing. And you can also sit in the middle here as an adult. That also works like this. Headroom also no problem at all. Huge panoramic roof. Well, and now to get into the third seating row, you pull it here at the top, and then, well, to slide it forward takes some effort, and this is then the entry to the rear seat. Do I still have space there? Isofix? Not at all. So you cannot use it for Isofix space child seats in the rear there. And now my least favorite part, and yeah, I know you love it, and you can have like Thomas time code in the third seating row maybe. So let's squeeze myself in there. Like this, I already folded the middle seat down that I can have some chance to do that. And, well, headroom-wise, it directly works, I would say. So that's okay. Legroom is indeed the problem. The ground here is a little bit uneven in the rear. And, I can't move these seats here much more forward. You can slide all three individually. But then you can see here, legroom-wise, it does not work at all for tall adults. That's the thing. You have Isofix here on these second seating row seats. As I said, third row, no. But it's more, I would say, like this middle seat here, for children that are not that small, but at the same time also not that tall. As for the trunk or the boot, here the plug-in hybrid version loses some capacity here at 640 liters then, whereas the other one would be at 710 liters. Sorry, I need to cheat a little bit. First of all, I want to show you here when the trunk is closing. Just listen to that. I don't want to be between that, but I can test a child safety test later on. First of all, let's take a look here. Great dimensions, right? First of all, some luggage inside. You can have a better understanding of it. And here the width is almost even between the wheel arches. It's like 115 in meters or 45 inches. That's good. And the standard length is about 125 in meters or 49 inches. So that's really decent. Here in the back part, you have this splitter that you can also have some backpacks in here, that nothing flies all over the place. Then we have the charging cable. You can either store it just there, really underneath it. Maybe a little bit too shallow. Probably. Con, you have to fold everything individually, and you cannot do that from the back of the trunk. Pro, you have a nice
folding mechanism here of the head restraints, and then everything also folds really flat. Wow, look at that now. That setup is really well usable. Safety sensor test as promised. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, maybe it could be a little more sensitive, but overall definitely okay. If it wasn't before this. Under the hood you always get a 2-liter 4-cylinder. In Europe we still get the diesel. In the US you can not only get the B5 but also the B6, so a little bit stronger petrol engine. And then there's the top engine, the T8, the plug-in hybrid. Acceleration figure here around 5 seconds, 5.4 in the EU, with a rear electric motor as the additional boost, so to speak. So the all-wheel drive indeed comes from that rear electric motor then, but it is actually always available. Then they have also recently upgraded the battery size, now at 15 kilowatt hours net, so you will get some more pure electric range. And from our test, we're now at the pure electric range from about 60 kilometers or 40 miles. And the petrol range, considering it's about 10 liters or more kilometers, 23 mpg US, 28 mpg UK, when you drive with completely empty battery, and then you have some 700 kilometers or 430 miles of the petrol range. So overall combined, then really significant. Of course, you could also have a little bit less petrol consumption when you are in this hybrid mode and use more of the recuperation, even if you don't recharge it. But of course, in this case, it does make sense to recharge it. Welcome to Thomas's driving lounge with the Volvo XC90 T8. That's still good also here in the driving. Let's find out. First of all, in this hybrid mode here, I'm driving all electric at this moment. When the battery is full enough, you can also change these driving modes here. If you, for example, in this hybrid mode, I can also go to pure. Then it would actually keep the EV mode as long as possible. At maximum speed, 140 kilometers an hour, pure electric. That's 87 miles per hour. And even if you're just all electric, it accelerates quite quickly. And in this pure mode, only if I would pin that down, that throttle completely, then the combustion engine would go on. Here in the hybrid mode, that then goes earlier. I also see in the instrument like this, there's like a small fuel drop where I see at which point the combustion engine would go on. And it, for example, would also go on if I pin it down here, of course, for our acceleration tests. And let's go, for example, to the power mode. Then it is already on for the best acceleration possible. 52, let's go. Plop, that's 100. So you see, decently quick. And you also hear the combustion engine then. If you ask yourself, is that any good for the engine? If it suddenly goes on and you rev it out, no, it's not. So that is a problem with plug-in hybrids. They are a little bit stronger in some parts of the engine where the stress would be put on the engine, yes. But of course, it only helps when you really take care of that yourself. In that case, for example, I went for the charge mode before, so I can also charge the battery while driving, which doesn't make any sense efficiency-wise, but I just did it for this acceleration test that the engine is warm before and that I don't damage the vehicle or so. Here, 100 kilometers an hour, one more acceleration when we're already at speed. Let's go. 30, 50, and 180. Yeah. So power-wise, no problem at all. When the engine is really put under RPM pressure, then of course this 2-liter 4-cylinder doesn't sound too good. The overall hybrid driving experience, when we go back to that again, is to me quite pleasant because you have a lot of electric moments, even if the battery would be completely depleted. Then you lift your foot off the throttle, it usually then goes in the electric mode and feels kind of like a in-bit hybrid. And when you have recharged it, then you can also significantly drive all electric, and that is happening very often. And as I said, realistic value about 60 kilometers or 40 miles pure electric range, and you can do something with that, for example, your weekly commuting and so on. Wind noise or wind insulation, I think here at 130 kilometers an hour, so around 80 miles an hour, it is kind of windy outside today, you have to say that. But it's actually decent, I would say. There are maybe some more silent competitors, but it's not bad at all. That's interesting how this rear wiper is hanging downwards like a tail.
interesting things you always see on the German Autobahn as well. And even driving all electric. So most of the time I've been having this vehicle here at home now. I've been driving all electric and then recharging again, and here it really makes sense indeed, especially when you can charge it at home or so. By the way, I wouldn't necessarily say this counts for all XC90 models. It always depends on the individual vehicle. I feel that the steering wheel is a little bit offset here, you know. That would be straight, but then I'm going to the left. This is kind of like going straight and it's tilted to the right. I would like to hear your comments about that. I'm really sensitive to that. I hate that, totally. And it's often that, you know, you do that in the workshop and also with the electronic steering wheel calibration and so on. Yeah, but I really like it that you can see that's completely straight. Maybe you can fix it with a new electronic calibration of the steering wheel or something. Here, higher speed and lane change at 130 kilometers an hour. Let's do that. Yeah, you feel Leah's like, whoa. Yeah, you have this floating ship atmosphere, which is okay to the XC90 because you do have air suspension here, and I love that, and you have this floaty ride indeed, and therefore it doesn't need to be that sporty. So if you compare it, for example, to the German competitors, this one definitely less sporty. Then there would maybe be a Mercedes GLE where you still also feel that air suspension you have, and then the other competitors where they go more in the sporty direction. Not necessarily without being less comfortable, because it always depends. Floaty, yes, but it doesn't mean that it's the best comfort, you know. It's just a different feeling, I would say. Here, one problem I do feel is, although we have 20-inch wheels, not the largest ones, and we have the softer winter tires compound, and the air suspension, when the road is uneven and we have some bumps in the road, then it does get through indeed. And I was wondering about that. So that was kind of strange. And I feel that is not the best as for the air suspension. I mean, there are newer models there are maybe a little bit better there indeed. So that's the one thing I'm kind of a little bit disappointed of, that we have, you know, this uncomfort from sudden bumps or potholes in the road that should be better with this tire and suspension setup. Other than that, I feel it's a very relaxed ride, and I love this open greenhouse atmosphere. It's very good for a long journey, also as for the seat ergonomics and so on. As I said, you can also get the full leatherette seats, for example, in the US versions, in the lower trim, which is fine because, I mean, even considering the age of the vehicle, you probably should not go for the highest trim then. Doesn't pay off money-wise. It's still not a cheap vehicle at all. So a low entry version also has most of the features you actually need. And then here, when you are at relaxed speeds, it's also really cool and calming on yourself. Here on the left side, you activate the cruise control, and it also has, if you want, the active lane keeping assist. So you can switch it if you want to have that or not. Here, this would be the active lane keeping assist. It is actually quite okay. There are also, for example, Audi, BMW, Mercedes offer smoother solutions, I would say. Here then, a little bit right and left. There you once again feel that it is a moving ship. It is really large, it is heavy, and it is still quite fun to steer it around, but it doesn't give you that sporty character where most of the SUVs go towards that direction nowadays. But I think it's not a necessity actually to do that. You can also have something on the market which appeals to other customers who don't care about sporty driving, you know, and so on. Then here we switch the motorways. It's always a good test and a lot of fun. There we go. And we can do one more acceleration in the power mode. Let's go from 70 kilometers an hour. Let's go. Woo. 130. Bah, that bump, you felt that. 160. And top speed 185 kilometers an hour. So Volvo has limited that top speed for all of their models. That is the strategy, although I could theoretically go longer. And here at top speed, actually also from the wind noise, yeah, of course, significantly louder than before, but still quite okay, I feel. There was one, I always use it as for good testing that road. This one fierce bump, this in the road, where you really heard it hammered through, and usually that shouldn't happen with the vehicle with air suspension. So that was the proof of the point I have been criticizing earlier. But overall, it's a very likable feeling here, and I mean, told you about the range beforehand. Of course, you could still drive way longer in that one than with the electric counterpart, the EX90. So range is, of course, still something you need to consider when comparing this one here against the all-electric brother. And of course, this greenhouse concept, more open space, more open feeling. So I somehow still like this vehicle. Do you? Electric SUV, a lot of space, 6 or 7 seats, and then at a price that is way below the premium competition. This is the Kia EV9. And can this be just the right spot if you want something large and electric? We're going to find out here with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go. With the front, a very angular look at the cost of not so good CD value, I have to say, 0.28. But I mean, look at that. It's actually no wonder at all. That's why today in our driving review, we'll also tell you more about the efficiency and the real world range. A beautiful color called Ocean Blue, and this one here is also the matte version. You can get a shiny version or this matte version here. I think the looks is really strong, pretty cool. Look at here, the vertical line of the daytime running light right here, and then this dot structure. There are also versions where the illumination continues inside the front here in the grille, basically. This grille, which is not a front grille. And it really depends on the country, and also the European market is supposed to get a version of that one later, for example. In the US, you can already get that. Lower part, black contrast, and the sensor is hidden right here. The length just a little over 5 meters or almost 198 inches right here. Wheels from 19 to 21 inch. These ones are the biggest one, also with some aerodynamic optimization. Contrasting wheel arches, really massive once again. And look at that. Here they really go for a lot of space on the interior. We can always see that at the exterior. There's either a rear-wheel drive version or an all-wheel drive version we have here today in the GT line, which is also that one here, the sportiest line. 5.3 seconds in the acceleration figure. The rear-wheel drive only version, 9.4 seconds in the acceleration figure. And the top speed is also a little bit varying. In the all-wheel drive model, 200 kilometers an hour or 125 miles an hour. In the rear-wheel drive only version is more like 185 kilometers an hour or 112 miles per hour. Here, the rear design, these tail lamps here symbolize a star map, like the star here, and then there's this, connection between the stars. Do you see it? Anyways, I think it's a very unique way to design it. Overall, this very bold design is also continuing here, also with the silver contrast. There is one more acceleration figure that is 8.2 seconds for the rear-wheel drive only version when you have the smaller battery. Not for all markets. Most will go and most will pick the bigger battery, 100 kilowatt hours approximately. And all the other figures I told you before, they're all connected then to this 100 kilowatt hour battery where we have rear-wheel drive or the all-wheel drive. And recharging for that, the bigger battery is with the 800 volt architecture and up to 240 kilowatt peak. That means then 24 minutes from 10 to 80% state of charge if you have the ideal conditions. Preconditioning, by the way, does work when you put a charging station in the car internal GPS beforehand. Let's talk about suspension. As I said, there is a huge price difference to the premium competitors, and then you also get some things less. For example, you do not get an active adaptive suspension. What you do get is frequency adaptive dampers. That means they work with a hydraulic cushion and then react on the driving situation. But it's not that when you pick the drive modes, the suspension gets stiffer or softer and so on. So that is not that way it works in an active adaptive suspension like Audi, BMW, Mercedes is offering, for example. And also no air suspension. However, if you get an all-wheel drive model, then you get a self-leveling for the rear axle. So let's say you are always driving with really heavy load in the rear, with full of people and full of luggage, then it might make sense for you to go for the all-wheel drive version to get that self-leveling for the rear axle. I love color comparisons. This is here our matte paint ocean blue, and this here is the normal ocean blue, the normal metallic color. And you can see directly the difference that it is the same color, but it just has this different effect. What would you go for? The matte version or the normal metallic version? What a lovely key fob. It has this matte structure and is bright. Nice idea. And then when I open the vehicle, you can see here the door handles come out. So a flush door handle then when it's closed, like this, door closing sound. Really solid, I like that. Everything feels and looks really nicely. Also soft touch here, completely around. Just the lower part that is hardback as usual. Fabric inserts right here. Then you also have real buttons for controlling the seat cooling or seat heating, by the way. Heated steering wheel, for example. Seat massage is also available, but you don't have to go for that one. It's not the best one I experienced. And then on this interior, different stylings are available, different colors. Steering wheel, even with hard buttons. So no hashtag capacitive BS. I love that. Here you pick the driving modes, for example, sport mode, normal, terrain mode, also special off-road modes, for example, available. Right side also for the volume control. And the seats, the whole interior, so steering wheel and seats, is animal-free. And they use the most sustainable materials that are available at this moment. That means they also reduce, for example, the overall impact by using recycled materials or even a bio-based share for the different materials. Overall, 34 kilograms of these materials, recycled or bio-based, are in this vehicle. And the seats themselves, great quality, perforation, seat cooling. They offer great comfort. A best example for that, you don't have to miss anything when you go more sustainable or when you go animal-free. You even gain from that, because the quality here is better than we've seen, for example, with animal skin options before. So kudos to Kia here. This is how it's done. And as I said, you can also pick different colors for that. Interesting function when being at a charging station, for example. You also have this relaxation function. So when you push this button here, then the seat, first of all, going a little bit forward, and then it's going up like this. This lower part here goes up. A similar function would also be available for the second seating row if you don't go for the swivel seats. Soon going to show you the swivel seats, and then you can put that one even more down if you like, and say like going for some sleeping set when, oh wow, the head restraint. That is amazing. That's here from fabric, and it's really soft in the cushion, so that is nice for a small nap. Yeah, it's one of the best comfortable head restraints I've experienced so far. Interior cockpit overview, so many things to talk about. It's really interesting. First of all, steering wheel, electric, up and down, in and out. I would just wish that it comes a little bit more down. So even I lift my whole seat a little bit up, that the steering wheel is actually not too high for me. But then it actually works and good with all the controls. Here the regenerative braking controls. I talked about that while driving. The gear selectors here, forward for drive, reverse for that, and you start up the vehicle with this button then that is very close to the stalk column. And I love that we here still have manual climate controls, such a good thing, and also the manual vent strength, so that I don't miss anything, you know, that's actually cool. And then this middle screen here, there you always have the climate controls in your in your side. However, the steering wheel is partly blocking it, so when you're tall enough and the steering wheel is all the way down, then you can see the top part, but maybe not the lowest part here, but I think that's fine. And then two 12.3-inch screens, left and right, for the instruments and for the main infotainment. And then this integration here of these hotkeys, so like this, they do nothing. Then you press them in a little bit, maybe not the best feedback, honestly, but then, for example, you can also select a hotkey here, what you want to have as a special hotkey right there. And there's another hotkey on the steering wheel directly. For example, I press this one, and at the moment is talking to rear passengers. I'm not sure if you hear this sound difference here, but now I hear myself, my voice, also in the rear. Michelle can hear me now a little bit better when he's sitting in the rear. So that's a thing, maybe, the parents will know the situation. The kids are fighting in the rear, and then you can have this, "Look, I am your father." And the children, okay, we're silent. Digital instruments, good overview with the range in the middle part. Also, when you have the car internal GPS, you have something of a GPS view. And you can also get a head-up display. Infotainment system is actually pretty simple with these different tiles and so on, so you can get along with that one very well. Most of the time probably you will use Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Here seat controls, for example. You see, it could be a little bit quicker, you can do everything in the screen, but it's easier to use the real buttons for that, and they are present. That's the cool thing. CarPlay integration looks like this, and with Auto integration will also use the full screen, of course. Overall, I'm actually happy with that. It's all you need. Oh, and the manual volume jog, that's also cool to have. Storage, here for example the glove box, interesting, it not only comes down, but also a little bit forward. Have you seen that? Very interesting mechanism. And then here, a lot of space in the lower middle console like this. And also the upper one, you can slide this one open, then have two cup holders. The only thing that does not work that well is when you have very tall, high bottles like this, then they are not kept that tight. It's more thought for really large bottles and so on, or maybe like coffee cups. And you can also push them here and fold them in again, so that's also possible. And then you have here a more open area like this. Then here is an inductive charging pad for your phone. When I was driving earlier, by the way, sometimes it did lose contact, but maybe also depends on the case, I don't know, but wasn't ideal, at least the first experience, and so more space than here. But overall then here, for example, also when you close things, and here again, everything resonates very well with the build quality of the vehicle. Here in the lower part, interesting, 12-volt push. There's an interesting mechanism here as well for the 12-volt power supply. This one is USB-C charger, and here you can actually choose between charging only and charging and connecting. Not sure why this is really necessary. Do you know why? And this is then where you put the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto connection when you want to connect it with the cable. So if you connect it via the cable, then it would look like this. I'm not sure if I would put it then here or maybe just put it down there or something. So the cable position is of course not the most ideal. And the solution for that is, of course, wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. Kia says they will offer it beginning from December 2023 for all the vehicles. And if you have gotten one earlier, then they say it's also possible to retrofit it with a software update. Here, this back mirror, let's just imagine you pack everything up to the top in the rear. You also have this possibility here to have the camera mirror. I think also a nice idea. This is also an option here, the digital mirrors. Then you have the screens on the inside and the camera on the outside. I think it's always a spectacular option. I mean, you don't have to go for that one. You can see here how it looks like on the exterior like this. It is a little bit better in aerodynamics, but it doesn't make a major difference. I think it's just a matter of preference, and if you are okay here with this monitor view then from the inside or not. Me personally, I prefer the more classic mirror approach. You either have the 7-seater setup as standard or the 6-seater setup, then with the single seats, and you can then get these swiveling seats or relaxation seats to put them down, but the swiveling seats here, they have the advantage, for example, when you have a child seat installed like this, then you put it sideways, you can put the child then here, and then you can easily slide it back like this. So I think that is also one use case that is very nice, and turning it in the other direction would also be possible, like this, 180 degrees. And I now checked with Kia and they said it's also allowed to drive like this, then facing backwards. That could be a nice family setup as well. And of course, let's just imagine maybe you have a disability or something, then you can also easier get in the rear like this. And then someone can, for example, help you, activating that one here again, and then swivel you around like this. It would be another use case. So at the moment the seat is set to my driving position. I still have a lot of legroom left here, and these seats here, being this captain seat setup, are super comfortable. You can also adjust the back part of the seat like this, and yeah, it's really a great experience here in the rear. I can just say that, especially then with the space in between. And build quality wise, even if we take a look at the inside of the rear door, soft touch here, then you have this manual shade and so on, and it covers all the way here of the window. Everything is really thought through. I like it also here. So I would really say that this is a premium build quality. And of course the kids will also love that here, or in the second seating row. You can easily move around, all the way flat floor, ISOFIX here on both seats. So you're really flexible here already in the second seating row. Oh, yeah, we also, thanks Michelle, so Michelle is filming an episode today, and we have actually two panoramic roofs. The one in the front has a manual shade. Why not? I'm actually totally fine with that. And then you can actually put some power on, open that one electrically in the front, and like this. And the rear one does have a shade. That one can also be slid open here electrically. By the way, we can also slide these seats here forward or backward, and it's also a very easy process. So let's slide it that way forward, that I could still sit here as a tall adult. And then let's move to the third row. Of course, kids can maybe also have a lot of fun when they just, slide through the middle part here with the 6-seater setup. And then you can either press here this button on the top. So that would be the first possibility. The second possibility is here in the lower part. And when you press one of these buttons, then here, this one goes down. And then you can slide this forward here and have the easy access then here from the exterior. So, and then even more exciting, the rear, or the third seating row then, ISOFIX as well, so you can also install child seats here. There's always this discussion about safety, of course, when someone runs on the back of the vehicle. So yes, of course, the second row is in that case even safer. And let's see, when I put the seat forward then here, it is directly possible, especially here, for example, when I put my left knee here, then a little bit in this gap, then actually we can say this vehicle does house, in this case then, 6 tall adults. Even better than here in the 6-seater, I feel, because when you have the through bench, then my knee would hit it here somewhere. And also in the back part here, it's really interesting here. We have electric control of the backrest, for example, left and right. There are USB-C chargers as well at the inside. You have separate cup holders. It is a quite luxurious experience. You also have separate vents here. You can turn and other open, and this is also good as for the build quality. I'm really impressed with the setup here, and the seats, everything the same perforation, great leather wrap material, all animal free. It is a great premium impression, and they really thought about the details like ISOFIX on all of the seats here, that especially a family can use this one here very, very well. What's also cool here for the rear, you have this tablet, and you can even fold that whole thing out like this, and then make it a little bit longer like this, so you can have, I don't know, maybe for picnic or for storage or whatever. I wouldn't eat in my car though. And then here, you can also slide this one open. There's a lot of space on the inside. Let's just imagine this is my second home here in the south of France. Okay, dream is over, I don't have one, but it looks definitely cool here. And then I approach the vehicle just with the key in my pocket, and I just have to wait for the chime, and then the trunk here opens itself when I, for example, have heavy things in my hand and I can't, you get the idea. Even the Hyundai Tucson, that one, I think it introduced that feature here. Pretty cool. Here over 300 liters in both versions for the last part of the trunk. So even then you can put at least some things. And then you have this nice functionality that you can fold the seats, third row and the second row. So we begin with the third row here. Look at that. Electric function. Then you have in both versions, 6 and 7-seater, over 800 liters. Head restraints just folded. Underneath, some more space, for example, to store the cover here for the last seating row. That is also interesting. And then the length here of the trunk is either 52 centimeters, 20 inches. Then to the second seating row, it's about 125 in meters or 49 inches. And then we can also fold these ones. And this is then the mechanical folding. But how clever is that overall? And the overall length then, I mean, look at that, to the front driving seats. That's like, hardly ever measured that before. That is like almost 220 in meters. Like then here to the end, like almost 85 inches. So that's overall very impressive. And how easy you can actually fold that down. The only thing is the second row, because it's mechanical, you have to fold it up yourself. The third row can be folded up electronically once again like this. Now as a comparison, the 7-seater version with the through bench. This would be the base, so to speak, and just depends on how much spaces you want in the rear. And then here you can slide this forward in the 2/3, 1/3 bit. The slides is really easy to do. You can see here, this is in the 1/3. There we go, you can see the whole difference. You can of course just make the trunk larger by that, also when you fold the third seating row. And is there any difference as for the access to the third row?
and press again this button here, or the lower one. There we go. And you can see you have basically the same entry here to the side. So why not? Shall I try it? Let's see this one. So do it like this. It's easy to do. So here's actually fairly good. So no problem at all. And then of course it depends how much space you have again, just how much forward you slide these forward parts. Very interesting, the seating concept here. On the passenger side, you can even better access the third seating row, because when I fold this side, then see here, it goes more forward and more up than the other side like this. And by that, it's even easier to crouch than in the third seating row. Pretty cool, by the way, that we can electronically control here the back part of the third seating row, giving me more space. And here now, remember the captain seat setup. There I could put my knee then in the gap between the two captain seats. Here with the through bench, it's a little bit tighter than as for the knee room. So indeed the third seating row is a little bit more comfortable with more space if you do not have the through bench, if you have the captain seat setup. But overall then, yeah, you have to decide what makes more sense to you. And indeed, you can let yourself out even if you are in a third seating row like this, and then you can actually also open the door from here. So that is possible, so you can escape yourself. Well, alternatively, you can also fold this one down here yourself and then just crouch out like this. Why not? By the way, also 250 volt supply here in the rear, and folding the 7-seater works the same way. We have the same buttons, and let's see how different it is. There we go, electric this row, and then manual the other row. And you can see it's of course even flatter because you don't have this gap in between, but works the same way. I have another surprise for you here in this trunk. So there we have this outdoor surfing setup, and also you can get these rubber mats here that are fitting. So if you want a more, like leisure purpose and so on, you can see here also these covers there for the rear seats that you don't damage them, or when it gets wet and so on. And talking about leisure use, or for example also as for towing, maximum towing capacity is 2.5 tons or 5,000 pounds for the all-wheel drive model. Rear-wheel drive only model would be only at 900 kilograms. And you can see a base model is also available that you fold the third seating row just manually. Then you have the strap here, and then you can fold it up like this, or then release it again and just push it down. Will it frunk or not? Yes, it does. So here, for example, for a charging cable, or here for the vehicle to load adapter, because you can also use that, for example, then for accessories when going camping and so on, and put that one then where you usually charge the vehicle. So it's also a nice function Kia, Hyundai and Genesis EVs have. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the Kia EV9. We put it here to the sport mode. Oh, I immediately feel that the throttle input is being increased, and we can do a first acceleration here in the all-wheel drive model from 40 kilometers an hour to 90. Let's go. Plop, that's it. And that one went quite well. Wow, I mean the official acceleration figure here for this all-wheel drive model in the GT line, it has this electric boost, 5.3 seconds. In the EU figure at least. This is really impressive indeed. The US figures are usually always a little bit lower because there's this to 60 miles an hour, but 100 kilometers an hour would be 62 miles an hour. That's why the US figures are usually a little bit lower then. And then also the measuring technique is sometimes different and so on. You hear this beeping here. This is this EU regulation thing that when you exceed the speed limit, even just a tiny little bit, you have this beeping sound. More and more manufacturers are implementing some kind of shortcuts that you can deactivate it very quickly. For example, at Mercedes, you hold the mute button a little bit longer. At BMW, you hold the set button for the cruise control a little bit longer. Here for Kia, I did not find any, or I did not have any shortcut yet. It's a little bit complicated to do that and deactivate in the system, because you have to do it over and over each time again. And I think it's of course a good thing to warn against speed limit violation, but then again, for example, when there's like 70 kilometers an hour, and then for example I go between 69 and 71, why would there need to be a warning chime for that? Then it basically also teaches you always to to use the cruise control. But that's not a Kia thing here, by the way, just that they don't have the
practical hotkey yet. It is something for all new cars and new homologated for the EU versions at least. Then here, let's go back to the normal mode. First Autobahn experience here at 70 kilometers an hour in this construction site. We have 21-inch wheels mounted here, and of course you feel that somehow. Looking forward to even more destroyed roads later on. You have a pretty direct contact to the road. If you want more comfort and a softer ride, you would need to go for smaller wheels. Let's test the assistance systems here. So I have all of them activated at the moment. So the active lane keeping assist as well. Also cruise control, distance is being kept, adaptive cruise control, and see here, so far you see some small corrections there in the steering, but actually quite smooth so far. See here, see there's a slight bend, so I'm not steering at the moment. You're still supposed to keep your hands on the steering wheel. Let's also see when it does give a warning, and then if it is enough that I actually touch the steering wheel, or if I have to move it. So far, that goes pretty long without doing anything. That's astonishing. So here, still not. There we go. Keeps hand on steering wheel. Now, there we go. So, capacitive reaction. That's actually quite good. Yeah, I think so far, good job here as for the cruise control. However, when you drive a little bit quicker than here and have the active lane keeping assist, I feel it has too many little bit nervous counter reactions. So you see, for example, in the corner, some of the most elaborated systems on the market nowadays, they kind of keep it a little bit more consistent and steady. And here, you always feel some back and forth movement. So it's not a bad system, not at all. But I feel there are better systems on the market that react a little bit calmer. And one more acceleration, 70 to 110. Let's go. But that's it already. Really quick, nice. So you get a very sporty feeling. It is a large and bulky SUV on the exterior, but due to the low center of gravity, battery pack is, of course, as always from these EV platforms, in a very low bottom of the vehicle. Therefore, it doesn't feel as heavy as it actually is. So very quick acceleration, and especially in that sport mode where everything is also enhanced, but even in the normal mode it's actually totally fine. And let's do some lane change right here. No leaning at all. It's really nice. So steering input, no dead zone area, pretty crisp and direct. Let's change back again. That feels amazing, really great. I mean, we have seen in the interior part already that has a premium build quality. And this is also a premium ride. Wind noise or noise insulation in general, I feel is really silent in here. It is a very windy day outside here in southern France area, in the Nice area and surrounding, where we are at this moment here on the motorway. So we do hear some wind noise, yes, but it's not that it would, you hear that's also coming from that weather condition outside. So overall, I'm quite happy with that. You know that the CD value is not the best overall, and that's why I'm really interested at the end of the day we're awaiting our final consumption. But so far, here now at 110 kilometers an hour, it's like 70 miles an hour approximately. It's reacting very, very well and also super comfortable, so I can very well imagine also a longer journey in that one here. So if you want to deactivate that speed warning thing, by the way, you have to go here, set up vehicle, driver assistance, and then on that speed limit, and then that's just the information. And to do that while driving, you really have to practice that, so they definitely need a hotkey for that. What we can also do is here, some more curvy roads, and once again, it feels really nice and light. It's actually a lot of fun to drive, so I wouldn't expect driving fun from such a large and heavy SUV, actually, but it does it very, very well. And here, once again, this difference to other premium manufacturers becomes slimmer. I mean, at some point, of course, you can't deny the weight when you're driving too fast in the corners, but that's also not the main purpose here of that vehicle. As for recuperation, it's interesting, there's a car in front of us, and here at the moment is the auto recuperation. And that means For example, when I'm driving closer, and although I don't have the cruise control set here, now car is decelerating because the sensor picked up the car in front of us. So it is almost working like an adaptive cruise control, just that it is the adaptive recuperation. And now comes a very interesting part. Inside this automatic recuperation, I can set the recuperation levels differently with the pedals. Here, for example, also to a very strong one. You can see here deceleration, deceleration. And then the other possibility would be holding the pedal, and then I go to the manual recuperation mode, and I can set level 0, no recuperation when lifting the throttle at all. I have to do it with the brake, and it does that, unlike with Tesla. So here I can also recuperate the same way with the brake pedal. And then level 1, level 2, level 3, and I pedal. That is then the one pedal driving feeling, but that's not their focus, because you can also see it. They did not homologate the vehicle in that mode, and that means when I'm here in the I pedal mode and I shut down the car and then start it again, then actually the I pedal mode is being resetted, and I'm not in the I pedal mode once again. The other modes you can keep up, and when you start the vehicle again, it starts in that mode, just not in the I pedal mode. Yeah, that you have to know. So probably most of the time you would leave it in the auto mode, and then you maybe find out for yourself what is the most pleasant thing for you. For me, I think it's at the moment when I'm, finding different electric vehicles, and maybe that there's a slight recuperation, like we know from combustion engines, from the engine brake, when you lift the throttle, and then the rest you decelerate with the brake. That's to me, the most likable thing, definitely, I feel. Also really nice, overtaking some bicycles. It feels actually very smooth in the whole driving process. I really like that. It gets a little bit more curvy. We can drive a little bit quicker as well. I mean, there are some dedicated, let's say, sports EVs, or even among the large SUVs. For example, like a BMW iX, to me, gives you a little bit more driving agility, suspension-wise and so on. They're also a little bit more flexible, that the suspension can do both sportiness and comfort, but then again, the difference is not that large anymore. And even considering that here, with that driving feeling here, you get this one, what we experience at this moment, for a price that is at least 15, 20, 25k euros, dollars and so on, under the competition, and that is very impressive. And if you then spec the vehicles, that difference is even larger, and it can be like 30, 40, 50k. So once again, also from the driving, what we experience here is very impressive, especially considering the price. Really nice, the area here around Saint-Tropez, by the way, in southern France. Here, the Kia EV9, we did a consumption test for you here today. First of all, city consumption, or let's say lower speeds, maybe 60, 70 kilometers an hour, 30, 40 miles an hour. There we could score some really good results, around 20 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. That's 3 miles per kilowatt hour. That would mean, when you don't drive too fast, it has concise real-world range of 500 kilometers or around 310 miles. However, then we also did Autobahn consumption, and that then went up to about like 24 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. So that's about 2.6 miles per kilowatt hour at a speed of motorway 130 kilometers an hour, so 75 miles an hour, around that. So that means because of this not that good CD value, of course, the faster you drive, even more exponentially the consumption goes up. However, considering the size of the vehicle and the space you get and the CD value, it is still quite decent in the result. So the Autobahn real-world range would be rather than 400 kilometers, 250 miles. And then if you combine everything together, the overall consumption was 21.5 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers, something like that, approximately. So that would be in this like 2.8 miles per kilowatt hour. And then you have a result that is between 400 and 500 kilometers and between 250 and 310 miles. Overall, I think, again, for this kind of a vehicle, quite a decent result and not too bad also in comparison to the smaller vehicles in that corporation like a Kia EV6, Hyundai Ioniq 5 or something. And of course we have to talk about pricing. $55,000 to $74,000 in the US. Why it starts so low in comparison? Because on the US market or Northern American market, you can also get the smaller battery as an entry version. If that makes sense for that kind of vehicle is on another paper, but at least you would have a relatively cheap entry version. And of course, the US prices do not include VAT. UK pricing, $65,000 to £77,000. There the difference is always like rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, and on the trim, top of course all-wheel drive here with the GT line. But as I said earlier, there are not too many options then here for the EV9, so they make this whole configuring process also a little bit simpler. And German prices 73,000 until 84,000 euros. And now if we compare the competitors, that is very interesting. As for the pricing and the amount of seats on the interior, you could only compare, for example, a VW ID Buzz. Completely different concept as for the whole styling and silhouette and so on, but pricing and space-wise comparable, for example. But then if you think about SUV, large, all-electric, there's the premium competition. There would be the Volvo EX90 that also offers this 7-seater concept, or the Polestar 3, the brother that doesn't have the 7 seats, and that one already starts above 100,000 euros or dollars. And if you think about the Tesla Model X, the same, so at least 15, 20, 25k higher in the price. And then if you think Audi, BMW, Mercedes, Audi Q8 e-tron, Mercedes EQE and EQS SUV, or the BMW iX, yeah, the entry prices for their all-wheel drive models with the big battery already 20, 30,000 euros more. But then if you add extra equipment, you can maybe have a price difference to this one here of around like 50,000 euros or something. So you have two thoughts there. On the one hand, people could say, a Kia for 80,000 euros, are you crazy? Who would do that? But then again, people get more open as for switching the brands. Kia is getting, already with the EV6 for example, customers from the German premium manufacturers. And then you can say, hey, okay, I get this one for maybe like 50,000 euros less than the BMW iX and have more space on the inside. That could be a very strong argument. And now the question is, for that price difference, is there anything you get more or what you get less? More in the sense of consistent animal-free approach. Only Tesla is offering that so far in this very segment. The BMW iX offers the animal-free seats, will follow with the steering wheel with the next facelift, for example. Audi, Mercedes, not so much. And then also the build quality on the interior is premium alike. So there's nothing you lose there, for example, when going here for the Kia EV9. What is actually worse, or let's say like not as good as with the premium manufacturers, the lane keeping assist, for example, is a little bit more nervous. So overall the assistance systems are good, but not that elaborated. Also the beeping sounds on the interior is always a little bit more than we get with the Germans, for example. And the deactivation of this speed limiter is more complex. They do not have a hotkey like Mercedes or BMW is offering to deactivate it quite quickly. That's an EU market thing, but it is a very relevant thing for sure. Suspension-wise also, it's a good suspension, but when you get an adaptive suspension or an air suspension with Audi, BMW, Mercedes, that one does ride a little bit better. But it's actually fine here. Also in the driving dynamics, yes, a BMW iX or an Audi Q8 e-tron drives more sporty. It is more agile in the corners. So you have different elements which are better with the German competition. However here, efficiency-wise, it's also actually quite cool. And then once again, you have to think about, you get more space on the interior and that price difference is so extremely large. And the overall performance of this vehicle is excellent. So that my overall verdict is that at this price point and at this size, at this space, this is actually at the moment the best large EV you can get. A couple of years ago, if you compared Mazda to BMW, maybe everyone would have made fun of you and probably also laughed at Mazda. But then things changed. The CX-60 came and we compared it, for example, against the BMW X3. and people have been changing from premium manufacturers to Mazda with their new big SUV lineup. This here now is the CX-80, the bigger model that is, for example, size-wise attacking the BMW X5, only that it's doing that for approximately half the price. What do we get from that? How premium is the CX-80 and how does it relate with CX-60 and CX-80 in Europe and CX-70 and CX-90 in the Northern American market? What's the logic behind it? We're going to tell you all about it. Here is Thomas in Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go. Front of the CX-80. Here vertical fins, high gloss black, a really strong stance. So from the outside it already screams, hey, I want to be a premium SUV. Lamps, LED standard, optional and matrix LED or included in higher trims. And also two new colors in here. This one is Artisan Red. It's a rather darker red color. You maybe know the Soul Red Crystal, which is a brighter, screaming out red color. This one here a little bit darker nuance, but still has this additional layer that it has this shiny effect. You can see here where sometimes some brighter light is there. It really goes well in the sun, even better than Leah's making fun of me now. Leia and Leah. Okay, gotcha. Leia and Leah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'm really into these details and then sometimes she thinks that, this car nerd again. Here, the length of the CX-80, now it gets really interesting. This is here 5 meters or 197 inches. And that means it's about 25 centimeters or 10 inches longer than the CX-60 that is offered on the European market. So a notable size difference. The CX-70 or 90, which are offered in Northern America, they are even 10 centimeters or 4 inches longer. But the basic difference is the higher numbers, 90 and 80, are the 7-seaters, and the 60 and 70 are the 5-seaters. I think this one here is making more sense here in Europe because there you have a differentiation. Okay, the 60 is the shorter model, the 80 is the longer one, clearly. In the North American market, there's no length difference between 70 and 90. People think like, why? You just delayed the third seating row? Yeah, I think so. In this case, the European strategy makes more sense. The American models are a little bit wider though. That's also another difference. Wheels here, standard 20-inch. So massive design, definitely large size. And you can see this is also the higher trim because it has painted wheel arches. So the base trim, which is called exclusive here, has these matte wheel arches in matte black plastic cladding. You can see it here, like the CX-90 we have recently seen in Vegas when we were there for the CS and covering all the car stuff there. Then you also have here once again the black plastic cladding, and the models also differentiate here a little bit in the rear window graphic. Double wishbone in the front, multi-link rear suspension. However, they do not offer adaptive suspension nor air suspension. This is one of the differences if you compare it to the German premium manufacturers. And we already have the entry prices for this one here. So a German example price would be at 55,000 euros for the plug-in hybrid drivetrain, a couple of thousand euros more, like 59,000 euros for the 6-cylinder diesel. And then, for example, X5 plug-in hybrid at the same size starts at around 100,000 euros with extra equipment, even more. So indeed, this is half the price of a BMW X5. From the visual part, you can say, hey, maybe I even prefer the Mazda thing here. And if you compare the CX-60 there, the smaller model, here, the CX-80 has no fake exhaust graphics at all. I really applaud the designers for that. I don't like fake exhaust graphics. The real exhaust is underneath. And then it's a more cleaner design here in the lower part. I like that. And the horizontal stress here of the tail lamps as well. eSky Active PF says the badge here in the rear. Let's take a look there in the front. Oh, we have hydraulic struts here. That's nice. And a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder plug-in hybrid. Rear bias still from that all-wheel drive in all the versions. This one here, the plug-in hybrid drivetrain, 330 horsepower system output and 6.8 seconds in the acceleration figure. The net capacity of the battery is around 14.5 kilowatt hours. It's not that large, and also 7.2 kilowatt AC charging max. So all the electric facts like size of the battery, recharging and so on, really not top of the game, so they are not that competitive in the plug-in hybrid drive train system. However, the price is way lower, and you can still have these taxation benefits if you have a company car and also use it for private use in Germany and also in some other European countries. So that this can still make sense because you're still below this 50 grams of CO2 limit in the total output. Alternative would be the 6-cylinder, the diesel, 3.3 liter 6-cylinder diesel, around 250 horsepower, 8.4 seconds in the acceleration figure. We have driven that one actually in the CX-60 already, and we could score some 6 liters on 100 kilometers, so actually a very decent consumption. On the US market for the CX-90 and 70, you also get a 3.3 liter turbo petrol engine in 2 different horsepower specs. This here is one of the other exclusive new colors. It's called melting copper. So it's not molten copper, so it's melting in this moment, obviously, you know, see. Also with a nice nuances, and if you compare it like this, could also look cool, right? So as soon as we can drive the vehicle, oh, Leah loves it. Yeah, because it has this, you know, like apple rose gold appearance a little bit, you know. Yeah, the girls love it, I think, but maybe also the guys. What do you think? Here, melting copper or artisan red for today? Of course, more are available also. Ooh, look at that. Nice work here with the turning indicators in the front, and also has this pulsing heartbeat effect. Wait a minute, didn't the X5 have that as well? But only after the facelift that came after the CX-60 was launched, I think. And you also see that pulsing scheme here at the side mirrors. It's also interesting. Looks pretty cool, I think. I mean, it does add some special effect. But some also say that they actually don't like it and want to have it more straightforward as for the indicator design. What's your take? Well, I think this wouldn't have gone through the BMW design department for this rear turning indicator. I think just a little bit too small. And I mean, even when you go a little bit farther away, it's not even, I mean, that visible. Here now as a hazard light, but when you just have on one side, I think this trend, I think Tesla Model 3 started it really, that it was so tiny. Meanwhile, with the Tesla Model 3 Highland, it's, you know, more visible again. But yeah, these tiny rear indicators, I think also a safety thing, right? The car key itself is not that much premium-alike, though, I have to say. Door closing sound. That is actually nice and proper, like that. And then inside of the doors here, it is somewhat soft touch and has a nice structure. This trim also comes with a nice bright decor element in wood, this real wood, and also this fabric here. Yeah, I really like that. However, here the inside door pocket is not covered, you know, from felt from the inside. That's, you know, something you could maybe add. Then this interior here with contour stitches on the inside in white. Real buttons at the steering wheel. That's cool. They also give you a good premium feedback. Here right side for the cruise control, for example. 12.3-inch digital instruments. 12.3-inch infotainment screen. Soon more to that. Also soft touch here on top of the dashboard. And some nice fabric applications here. Seats, as the base seats, would start actually from fabric in Europe in the exclusive line. Or CX-90. Or 70 get a full leatherette. That would almost look the same. This one here, however, optional animal skin, because Mazda so far is not offering animal skin alternatives in higher trims. I already talked to the developers about that, and they want to, improve that situation. They showed it with the MX-30 already, but not yet with the volume models. Then here with 189, 602, some headroom left here above my head. This here optionally equipped with the panoramic roof. You can also open that. The mechanism itself is quite loud actually, and also the opening is not that wide. However, the cool thing to me is that even if you pick a base trim, most of the stuff that is really necessary is already standard equipment, and that can easily make you like a purchase where you say like, hey, I really go for a base trim. And then I think it also makes sense. If you pay some more extras and so on, you're getting closer to a higher premium price. I'm not sure about that. Here, I think this vehicle makes sense when you go an entry-level price and really keep the price low that you can say, hey, I save so much money in comparison to a premium manufacturer. and still get large vehicle and also premium features. I mean, look at that here in the interior, just the visual part here with the covering right here. And also it is clean, yet at the same time I have haptic interface. So here the climate unit, for example, I can click that easily. I don't have to finger around in the infotainment system. I can open this one here. It gives a nice smooth feedback here with the adaptive cup holders, for example. You also have a real shifting lever here. Not sure if I'm the biggest fan of that because, you know, you have to go in this step way for that. But here is also the control unit for the infotainment system with this nice rattling sound, I would call it that way. Also manual volume input. So here they said, hey, we want still a manual interface for that vehicle, and you can just applaud them for that, while more and more manufacturers go away from that. Well, Volkswagen goes back to that again because they saw that it's not the right direction here. Felt covering and inside, 2 USB-C chargers, and also listen to that. There's also a nice sound here when I open or close that. Digital instruments, easy and clear with an analog setup. And you also have a stand-up head-up display. Infotainment system, you control it from below because the Mazda system itself does not react to touch. Just if you have Apple CarPlay and with Auto connected, then it's not only from below, but you can also actually control it via touch. So this is then possible like this. Also while driving is possible when you have activated that function. So do you like this interior better or the one from the BMW X5? Tell me in the comments. Here steering wheel, by the way, easily. It's quite loud, the electric motor, but it's very well adjustable in and out, up and down. Rear compartment, first of all, it's very exciting. Here, look at that, the doors open almost 90 degrees, so it's an easy access then. And also we have a nice structure here and not too hard pack, like I would say little soft touch in the rear. And here we have a manual shade for the rear. Oh, there we go, and also this wooden inlet and this trim and the nice bright fabric. Door pockets here not covered from the inside. And what about the rear door closing sound? That's actually quite decent. So the rear doors sometimes were not that good with Mazda from the sound. And also here they also worked on that one actually, because before that was sounding sometimes a little bit weird, but that's actually cool. This is here the captain seats set up. So you have basically 3 choices. This is here captain seats, so 2 seats in the second row, and this middle console here. Second setup would be without the middle console, that you can go through the middle to the third seating row. And the third setup would be you have a through bench and then go from a 6-seater to a 7-seater. Actually, it's the other way around. The 7-seater is the standard. And then you can optionally go for these captain seats here. But whatever you prefer. You can also adjust here the back part of the seat like this. And you can also slide it forward or backward. And comfort here with the captain seats is good. Headroom in the rear, well, it gets close. 189, 6'2". Really close with the head. This one equipped with a panoramic roof though. The base version exclusive line would not have the panoramic roof. So if that's, if you need it or not. I can also show more from the middle console. Of course here it does limit you a little bit. It is on the one hand an exclusive trim, but if you use it for the family, maybe not the best solution because the kids love just to enter here and go through the back. I'll soon show you the other access route. And then here, it's like a middle console in the front, one also in the rear with nice opening and closing sounds, more space underneath. Adaptive cup holders here, they're actually very nice. And then you have USB-C chargers and a proper rear climate unit. Oh, with nice clicking sounds, listen to that. I love that. And also here, when the engine is running, you can have seat cooling and seat heating for the rear. And then there's also, not sure if it has a trash bin or something. For whatever you want to use it. Actually decent comfort. You sit relatively high, so it's actually good for child seats. Here you have the ISOFIX also at the sides. Well, and then I would say, let's access the third seating row, because here in the top you can, that's again with the middle console here. Going back and forth is not that easy then. So here we go. This upper lever. That was not sounding so nicely. Let's try that again. That's maybe just in the back position. Yeah, when you pull a little bit more up, quicker, then it's actually easy. So there we go. Yeah, I mean, it's somewhat limited when you have a tall driver. And then here, you want to take a look maybe there. So at the moment they're down. I can just manually push them up like this. Head restraint as well. And then let's see how much space can I still get there. I mean, I could push the seats a little bit forward though, but you see that the third seating row, pushing that one up. Yeah, you already get the picture. When the seats are all the way back here, there's no chance. Headroom wise is actually quite okay. That works. And yeah, you see here also for my angle from the legs. Let's see how far I can push that one back. So that would work actually for my knees. But then you see there's hardly any space in the front. So I wouldn't say it's tall L-proof in the rear. Yeah, but I mean, for the situations like, hey, short trip or something, there's no ISOFIX here at the third seating row though, so no additional child seats. I think that would be this use case for the children are old enough or big enough not to need, like the real large child seats anymore. But then again, they're not as tall as me, so something in between, that would be the use case here. Well, and since you guys ask, when Leah is sitting in the rear seat, yes, she has a little bit more leg room because she's not as tall as me. She's not small at all, but still a more realistic value maybe from her than from me. You know what this means when you are a subscriber of our channel. It's the fight of the trunk capacity. 690 up to 1,970 liter. And that is even a little bit rounded because I don't want to go into like 1 or 2 liter figures. It's just too messed up. Then let's see. Yeah, we can push it up a little bit further. If you, by the way, want to secure a certain position, you just hold this closing button. Beep, beep, beep. There we go. And then it saves the position. For example, if you have a basement garage that's like ending here, you can leave it in that position. Yeah, but that it doesn't, touch the roof, like the ceiling of the basement garage from the inside. But then again, you have to be aware that you can scratch your head then as well. This is then here, third seating row. The CX-60 does not have that. And even behind that one, still have some space left here. I mean, like 47 centimeters or 18 inches. Put this one here up. You could also store then the charging cable here for the plug-in hybrid. And this is also the additional cover. Well hidden underneath. Here is also a real power socket in the rear, also activated right here. AC 1500 watt. Whoa! Oh, now the electric system even goes on here. Like, interesting. Wow, that is putting the car under some stress, obviously. And then we can fold down the seats here. We have to pull these straps. There we go. Manual system. Also here folds in the head restraint. Easy. And then to the seats in the second seating row. It's about 150 meters or 45 inches. And important for all our doggo owners, we go with 74 centimeters or 29 inches. And we can also fold these captain seats here and also put a suitcase in here that you can have a, dimension, sample here. That's actually cool. Here now to the seats as we're driving in front, like 2 meters or 79, 78 inches. So that's indeed full length. Of course, other competitors would also be a Skoda Kodiaq in a 7-seater trim. Also, if you think about the Hyundai and Kia competitors. But yeah, I mean, it also works as a premium manufacturer substitute if you especially take into account that it's way lower in the price. The Skoda Kodiaq has been known for being a good price-performance family SUV. Here it is now in the new generation, and we will drive it for you today and tell you how good is it, and also how does it compare to the sibling, the VW Tiguan, that was recently also launched in the new generation. With Thomas Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the front. The all-new Kodiaq is really bold in the front. This is also the Sport line, exclusively for you here today. Then there is the black frame around the grille. Otherwise, you have a bright frame around the grille. And this color here is called Race Blue. Yes, my favorite color. That's what we call Thomas Blue here, also on Autogefühl. Yes, these t-shirts will soon be available in our merch section. We are preparing that for you at this moment. Then in the lower part here, this honeycomb style. So all very cool styling. Headlamps with a nice daytime running light, so-called Skoda crystal lighting. This is the matrix LED you can also get. The length, 4.76 meters or 187 inches. Just grown a little bit in length. But this one here is actually significantly longer than the VW Tiguan, about 22 centimeters. Then you can see these crossover rear arches. These are 19-inch wheels. 19 inch is standard with the Sportline that also has this badge right here. You can even go up to 20-inch wheels. And also the Sportline has a blacked out, it's a kind of D pillar or the last pillar here at the back part. Otherwise, this is also in a bright design scheme. It's more form for this function. This vehicle is about space on the interior. And on the rear, once again with the Sportline, a blacked out Skoda lettering, really large here now in this new generation, and also more a functional design. I think it's a good approach because we will have a lot of space on the interior. On the technology side, very important, here with the Sportline you already get a sportier suspension. But optional, for all the versions you can get the DCC, now called DCC Plus. Volkswagen calls it DCC Pro, they call it DCC Plus, but it's the same technology. Now a 2-valve technology for the adaptive suspension, the dynamic chassis control. And that one actually promises more comfort and more sportiness at the same time. Is that true? We will test it in the driving part for you today. Turning indicators, wow, they look amazing here, already in the front right. I like that new styling. What about you? And by the way, you can hardly see it from this angle, but when you go a little bit lower, then you can see you can also get an illumination in the front grille for the new Kodiaq. It's kind of split, I would say, but yeah, a nice element at night. And in the rear, you also have these cascading turning indicators or hazard lights if you have this matrix LED option. And yeah, you have seen it correctly. The rear light is just at the outside parts. This middle part then here is, yeah, it's just a like physical graphic, let's say it that way. It's no light behind it or something. And now Leah is showing us one of the most famous features in the Skoda, the Rolls-Royce alike feature. There we go, there it is hidden, the famous Skoda umbrella. There we go. And with a button you can actually open it. Yeah, it can also be a sunshade, and when you press the button again, then it closes. I did that wrong last time. Yeah, against wind it's not that resistant, but the opening and closing function is actually quite good. Yeah, and it always takes time, of course, to put it back in place again there. Key fob, high gloss black. I don't like it that much, and this is also one of the reasons why I don't like it. It just collects these scratches so easily, actually. Then here, door closing sound. Very solid. And you also hear that this mechanism is also sounding a little bit. Here, this door sill protector. It's a very nice and easy system, so you don't get scratches in the parking lot and so on. It's not only available for the front, but also for the rear. Look at that. Here we go. Yeah, that's, I think, a very cool idea, isn't it? Then, inside of the doors, a soft touch here on the top part, also with a nice structure. I like the build quality. And the Sportline here has these sporty in it. Here you can really feel that. It's also a real structure you can also feel. So that looks and feels really nice. Microfiber then inserts here for the Sportline, here with these contrast stitches. Then you have these Skoda features like the small trash bin. You can get it on both sides, and also felt on the inside. Is a really thick felt covering as well. Then new Kodiaq here, new generation with new steering wheel. You still have rear interface at the steering wheel here, for example, for the volume jog. One click button for the heated steering wheel. I like that. Unfortunately, they don't offer any animal skin alternative for the steering wheel yet here. But for the seats, there are a lot of alternatives available. Base fabric seats or also microfiber seats. For example, also in the sporty version here in the Sportline, which is really special here with these holes opening, a little bit more, it's a kind of big perforation, I would call it, and especially the shoulder accentuation here, and this is microfiber and leatherette, so this is actually a very nice choice here for the Sportline here today. And the comfort in these seats is really very good, so headroom, plenty left with 189 or 6'2", And they really give good shoulder support here, nice and soft from the microfiber, all electric control here by the way, so I'm really happy with the comfort. Steering wheel here then in the manual control, up and down, in and out. And a very special feature here for the Kodiaq is this split glove box. Here there's no, sorry, actually I wanted to start with the other one. This is now very bad in the storytelling. Let's just pretend that this didn't happen. You have not seen anything. So there is the normal glove box in the lower part. And now comes the big surprise. There it is with the second top one. Okay, we don't edit it out. It's maybe a little bit funny as well. Yeah, but and also here in the sport line, we have the microfiber covering of that one here with the contour stitching. So that's a very cool idea. And once again, this inlet we've seen at the inside of the doors. The soft touch dashboard on top here with structure. And this is a 13-inch screen. It's an option. You would start with 10-inch, so a little bit smaller if you just prefer it a little bit smaller. You know, some prefer it smaller, some prefer it bigger. You know, that's the thing. And here, smart dial setup. That's what I want to show you directly. You can pick 4 different functions for these lower dials in the middle part. Like here, for example, the fan speed. Click it one more time. Click it. There we go. Here, then is the volume selection. One more time, this then for the DCC selection, for the driving modes. So you can have that all in one dial in the lower part. And that's, I think, a very nice, fresh solution. So you can keep the rather conservative layout we know already, we're used to. At the same time, make it a little bit more digitalized and individualize the thing. And I especially appreciate here the manual climate unit. That's cool to have it here. And also here is the push feature. We have seen it with Range Rover first, I think. Here then for the seat heating, for example. So that's a cool idea. Also, when you have set the other temperature in a different way, then you can here hold to sync left and right. Digital instruments are also customizable, whatever you want to see. So the fuel info, map, and also these gauges. But I here also rather prefer this classic look. Yeah, probably like this. And you can get a head-up display in the windshield. This is also the snow mode, then the numbers are blue. Middle console, also microfiber styling here in the sport line. You can slide this one forward or backward, open it, more space underneath. And then these two here in the front, you can also slide open, 2 USB-C chargers there, but you can also have 2 inductive chargers. They both work indeed. And you see here, it also fits with an iPhone 14 Pro Max. Why do the girls always have the big smartphones and the boys have the smaller smartphones? Why is that? Can you tell me? I don't know, yeah. Then here, let's slide these ones open. And here you have cup holders. They're really small, I have to say, and more space right here. When you use the climate unit, you also have this overlay then here in the infotainment system. More to that also while driving. They have really upgraded the software, so it's quicker to select now. Here you can select in the screen, but you can also use the dial then from below. So both is actually possible, and assistance systems control is either here or also in the instruments there. You can also quickly access it. And you also have this large integration of Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, both wired or wireless, how you choose it. Now it gets really exciting. First of all, the Kodiaq is available as 5-seater or as 7-seater. Today we have the 7-seater, soon gonna show you. First of all, let's start with the second row. Here we have these sunshades you can get. They go also very wide, it's a very good idea then. Also the inside of the rear doors is, let's see. This is hardpack now. It's structured but hardpack, so not soft touch here like in the front, but we have the nice microfiber inserts here in the sport and also this structured insert, then this design decor element. And the doors at the rear are also not felt covered, so that's maybe a little bit disappointing. Then we have so many features here. First of all, this strap here to change the angle of the back part, like this, so more laying back or more upright, both is possible. Then you can slide the bench forward or backward. So this is like a 1/3, 2/3 split. Then we have here 2 bags, like a bigger one and this like a smaller one, for example, also for a smartphone. But we also have these holders you can get. Don't have to do it. I'm not the biggest fan as for crash safety and so on. But of course, it's convenient not to hold your smartphone, or you can also put it like this then, horizontal format if you watch something. Or you can also, usually that's more meant like for, you know, tablets, iPads and so on. You can here adjust then the size and so on. So, but I think this is a better solution than these always built-in holders, because this holder here you can also just easily remove. So when you don't need it, better to remove it for the crash safety, I would say. This is a good and easy solution overall. Then we have, first of all, I can show you here, this is 2/3 then for sliding forward and backward. Here, this middle tunnel, we have a climate unit. So with seat heating, when the car is running, then also the seat heating would appear. Climate unit separate for the rear seats, 2 USB-C chargers. And this lower unit, this is in addition, you don't have to go for it, you can also take this whole thing out. This would be possible. And when it is in, see here these rubber lips, when you fold them back in like this, then they become cup holders, or you fold them away and then they're just like this cubby hole. Then we have the middle armrest. Not adaptive, these cup holders though, so maybe the kids will spill it. The middle part can also be folded separately. You can see the top tether behind. Other than that, ISOFIX there in the front on the outside seats each. But we really have to say, yes, the quality is amazing once again here also for the rear seats. Nice with the microfiber. But also how Leah is standing here now filming, the door doesn't open too wide. You know, so when you want to access child seats here, see here, I would rather wish for almost 90-degree opening. So getting large child seats in and out is maybe not ideal. Let's take it that way. Headroom in the rear, plenty available, no problem at all. Legroom is also good. This is the seat I would be driving, and you see here these sport seats are very voluminous. I would guess that the normal seats are maybe a little bit slimmer than, but is enough legroom definitely. And here once again this shade. So overall very well usable. There's so much to tell you about this rear experience, and that's also what the vehicle is really about. And now it gets even more interesting. What about the fifth? Wait a minute. I mean the third seating row. That means the 6th and 7th seats. Yeah, that's 1, 2, yeah, 7 seats. Let's just check it out. All right, third seating row. Now the comments are coming in, like Thomas in the third seating row with the time codes, because it always looks funny when I'm a tall person reside in tiny places. So, and then there's like a lever on the top part, and you can push that thing forward like this, and then yeah, the entry is fairly good. So either you can put this third seating row up from the trunk like this, or you can also put it up from here just like this very easily, and then you can also fold it down like this. Let's see if there's any other adjustment possible. No, that's basically it. Also with a nice microfiber in the Sportline, so they didn't save that. So, and then you can push the head restraints up like this. It's also decent. And the thing is now, so when, yeah, like this, I could sit here. As for the headroom, it's possible. You even have own cup holders here, like one cup holder. But if we push this bench back here, then of course it gets problematic, because that way I could sit here, but then look at that front part there, second seat row, it's not possible if anyone sits here. So that's why I did a test, and I pushed this seat here actually in the length, the way that I could still sit in the second seating row, because like this I could still sit there. Can I fit behind it then here? Not really. So here my knee is almost like here. So this is not for tall people in the third seating row. It's more like a, there, let's see again. They also don't have ISOFIX here in the third row. So this is more, let's say, yeah, for kids that are already old enough not to need like a large child seat. But then again, they're not too old, they're not too tall. So it's only for something in between, yeah, or if you're not as tall as me. So it's nice maybe to have the option, but at that length, maybe it makes more sense to stick with the 5-seater. Or what would you say? Trunk or boot, 845 liters with the 7-seater, 9 or 10 liters with the 5-seater. Let's take a look. First of all, Here we can play some Tetris, because these are these boot splitters that I can, prevent things from falling all over the place. Yeah, well, why not? Very nice idea for sure. So quite flexible. The length here, by the way, the width first is 1 meter or 40 inches in the middle part between the arches, but then in the upper part it's more like 120 in meters or 47 inches, and the normal trunk length is 1 meters and 7 or 42 inches. Then let's fold the stuff here, release it like this, and on the other side like this. There we go. You see, to put it fully flat you have to go around, then push them down, then they're fixed like that. And you can see this is here just an additional cover. Actually, you can fold this one here up or away like this, and they're actually attached here to the third seating row. So it's not a must-have. There we go. More space underneath, also for a replacement tire, and you can also leave it like this in this position. And this is also here a slidable cover. You press it once like this. The only thing is it's very thin, so here this edge here is kind of sharp. You have to be careful with that. And to fold here the 6th and 7th seat, you can put these straps here, which are underneath. You can put it through this cover. Maybe I'm not the biggest fan of this cover, but again, it's optional. And then you can also pull them up like this. Yeah, have to remove this one first, naturally. Sorry, didn't think of that. So this is of course important, because otherwise no one can sit there anyway. So like this and like this. Under the hood, quite a lot of engine choices. This here, the entry petrol level engine, 1.5 TSI mild hybrid MHEV system, 150 horsepower. We'll drive that one here today, but you can also get a 2-liter TSI, stronger petrol engine. There you can also get an all-wheel drive choice. Or what about the 2-liter TDI, also in 2 different horsepower specs. This engine here is, however, also based for the plug-in hybrid version, which is the most major upgrade, I would say. Now a 20 kWh net battery, massively increased, so like 80 kilometers, 50 miles of real-world range on the pure electric side. And also the recharging is definitely way quicker than before. Sport mode. Yeah, that was actually quite decent. It's of course not the quickest engine. This here, the 1.5 TSI mild hybrid system. The acceleration figure, official one, is just under 10 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour or 0 to 60 miles an hour. So it will not be the strongest engine in the lineup, rather the weakest. But for most cases, since it has a turbo, it will still serve the purpose. It has also a low entry price. We start here with some motorway driving, so going to 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour, and it's actually decently silent in here. This is also a thing about this new generation. It is more aerodynamic, and I also feel that they worked on the noise insulation. The turning indicator is actually quite nice in the sound, right? So let me just turn it again. Yeah, I think that sounds rich in a way, like not rich in the money sense, but rich, like a rich sound. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, and I think it gives you good comfort also here with the Sportline sport seats, microfiber, and they hold you also tight in the corners, so it's a good comfort experience definitely. Steering here also a little bit depends on the mode, but still, although we're on the sport mode, it is rather soft, I would say. You can also switch it then here back to the normal mode again, then it's even a little bit softer, but overall it still gives you a quite good feeling of what you're actually doing on the road. And I'm really happy that we can still select here the drive modes in the lower part. Here, easy from sport to normal again, and I press it one more time, then I can also select the volume back again, and yeah, you can also have more functions on there as we've shown to you in the interior part. Probably for driving is best to select the driving modes there. Yeah, for example, the volume I just changed here with my left thumb on the steering wheel, so that's definitely an easier thing to do. Also, when I realized, it's getting a little bit hot in here then now. It's getting hot in here. Both? So we can adjust the temperature here easily while driving. So I love this user interface. It's also to me easier if you compare it to the Volkswagen Tiguan, the sister model. They kept here a more classic user interface, and here it's also interesting. So I criticized it last time while driving. This is the car internal GPS, and you have this climate overlay here, this visualization, which is indeed actually quite nice because it's placed in a lower area, and then if you really don't have to look at it, you can also have it up here. And then last time it was the case that you had the overlay on the car internal GPS, but this was not the case for the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto map. And now they changed it actually. So here when I'm, for example, in Apple Maps and I control the climate unit here, there's this overlay, but last time it went black, like the whole GPS screen went black. This time it did not go black. So here the normal overview, so they fixed this software-wise. It's actually quite good that we find out some stuff, then we can also report that to them, or maybe you as a customer can also have some comments underneath the video, and then they can also work on the software status. Now we switch the motorway. This is, by the way, the speed warning. So here we go. Good feeling for the steering wheel. Does it actually feel different than the Tiguan? They come really, really close. Although the Kodiaq is a little bit longer, you don't feel too much of it, I would say. Maybe just a little bit. But overall, since they sit on the very same platform and share so much in the tech, they really come very, very close in the driving. It's more than a question of if you want that extra space here from the Kodiaq. To accelerate onto the motorway, this 1.5 TSI is sometimes a little bit sluggish. So if you have a lot of higher speed motorway situations, I would probably recommend then to go for the 2-liter TSI, for example, or then for the diesel version. The plug-in hybrid will of course also give you more punch. It's not that it's not okay, you know, just that I'm not the biggest fan of downsizing. So when there's a bigger engine with higher displacement available, usually also for, you know, long-term durability reasons is actually quite good. On the other hand, this mild hybrid system can also save some fuel so that you have a lower fuel consumption. And one more thing to talk about is the DCC Plus, as Skoda calls it, you know. DCC Pro, it's been called at Volkswagen. And on individual then, there we can go to configure, and then we can rule from comfort to sport like the whole way. This new 2-valve technology really gave us so much comfort. It's really awesome, and I would actually pick the comfort setting all the way and then sport steering. So that would be my individual mode, because that way you have greatest comfort from suspension, but it's not that would be shaking up or so, but the steering gives you more feedback. Of course, it's not the sportiest SUV in the world. You know, that's what you cannot expect from the Kodiaq, also when we're here in the roundabout or something. But since the suspension is now even more comfortable, this new DC Pro lifts, or DC Plus as Skoda calls it, it really lifts it on another level. And I like that. And I think it very well plays together with the added noise insulation and then here this upgraded suspension, that it's even more comfortable overall. So this makes up, you know, especially like these are the main two differences if you compare the previous Kodiaq to this one now. So about the assistance systems, here there's a blind spot monitor. When I'm setting the turning indicator, the side mirror is also flashing, that's helpful. And then you can of course also activate the cruise control. You have different assistance systems available. You can also activate or deactivate quite easily. That's I think a good thing, because if something is annoying you at some point, like an assistance system, you press here one button and then you can, for example, deactivate the lane assist or deactivate the speed warning. That's a quick thing to do. So yeah, that's actually quite good. Then I can also switch between ACC and the travel assist. The travel assist is the most elaborated system, and I have a separate stalk column here left below. And then I can also have the most elaborated cruise control, so to speak. So here we go, I set it, and then I can also adjust the speed here with this stalk column. And now the car is basically doing everything for me. So keeping the distance to the front and also keeping me in the lane. And so far so good. It's a very smooth system actually. So there are no hectic steering movements. It's still level 2, so you're supposed to keep your hands at the steering wheel at all times, like this. But overall, they worked also on these systems, and they are way more elaborated than here now in this generation. And I mean, there's a lot of cars around us here at the moment, so quite a lot of traffic, and I really feel that they worked so much on noise insulation. We've had it with the Tiguan as well, and this is probably, to me, the biggest difference then from the previous generation Kodiaq to this generation now. That's just more silent and more relaxing ride. And yeah, together with the nice sporty seats here, they are sporty but at the same time more comfortable, I feel. This gives a very good Autobahn cruiser here. What do you think, Leah? You're already dreaming, so you agree. That's always a good sign, you know, when she's like thinking, like, yeah, let him talk, you know, I'm just relaxing here. It's like and it's always a bad sign when she's like, very like, you know, I hope this will be finished soon. But this definitely like a relaxed sign for that. Yeah, so very good performance here driving wise on the motorway in all the different aspects actually. And to me, really the thing that I have the good user interface at the same time I have all modern systems that I maybe want or maybe need. So here also when you just like more steady, not so much acceleration, then also the 1.5 TSI is absolutely fine, you know. We just do one more lane change when we hit 100 kilometers an hour, see how that performs. Car doesn't shake up at all. Really calm driving experience. We have 19-inch wheels mounted here at the moment. This is probably then still a good choice between you have great visual and you still have some comfort. 20-inch wheels, I would probably not go for them because they maybe look cooler. At the same time, you also lose comfort when you have less dampening comfort than from the tires. So I think this year, as a Sportline 19-inch wheels, is I think a very good choice to configure this vehicle because it gives you comfort. At the same time, you have a nice sporty look. When you say, hey, I don't want like this boring family SUV, I want something, you know, with spice. And I think this is what especially the new Kodiaq here in the Sportline really nails. Consumption here today with the 1.5 liter TSI, very good. Well, we went mainly 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour on the motorway, so ideal conditions. We went with about 6 liters on 1 kilometers, that's 39 mpg US, about 47 mpg UK. Excellent result, of course. Will be a little bit worse when you have more city traffic and so on. But you can see, yes, it's not the most powerful engine, not at all. But then again, with this mild hybrid system, it can also save some fuel. With a better mix of city and so on, you can add like a liter or maybe like deduct 5 mpg or something. Then you get a more realistic value when you also have other driving conditions. Pricing here, you start around 40,000 euros as it's spec'd right here. You can also exceed some 50,000 euros. However, as for the price performance, it's still actually quite good. And especially here in the new generation with the updated adaptive suspension and the better noise insulation, it gives you a more premium ride definitely. Comparison to the Tiguan, yes, this just has more space and the possibility of a 7-seater. Remember that the EU Tiguan now is just the small one. There will be a bigger, the Tayron, which also adds then more seat possibility, which will be more similar to the Kodiaq actually. And this Tayron will be then the US Tiguan. Yes, sense, logic. Sorry about that. That's how VW is planning it. But getting back to the Skoda Kodiaq, overall, I think once again a very nice result and a nice upgrade here in this new generation, especially because they kept this rather classic user interface, but mixed it with some new digital elements. Then I would only wish for a completely animal-free interior. That's maybe on my bucket list then here for this vehicle. But good that we also have the 7-seater possibility. Not too many possibilities for families if you want more than 5 seats. This is definitely a very nice one.
So what is my conclusion here today for these vehicles? Overall, all very decent, a lot of space actually, and also pretty cool in driving, most of them at least. But they are really different to each other, I have to say. As for the BMW X7, it offers the best driving experience and it also has a lot of space on the inside and premium materials and also the best animal-free choice. They offer there the Sensación high-grade leatherette that is really the most superb material and also the best seating comfort overall. The Mercedes GLS also offers a lot of space and is of course price-wise very close to the BMW. As for the recent reliability standings, BMW leads Mercedes clearly there. The Lexus TX also has great reliability, of course, as we know from Lexus, and this one has also even more space actually, and is very interesting. In most specs, it is actually better in the pricing than the BMW and the Mercedes. The Toyota Grand Highlander, of course, would be the even more budget choice in this case. Then they sit on the same platform, but of course with Lexus you get better noise insulation and some more exclusive interior features and so on. The Volvo XC90, yeah, it's still on the market, and we soon also expect a facelift, and that one will be also covered here on our channel for you, so stay subscribed for that. It still has its very own Swedish charm, however the German premium manufacturers of course are a little bit better in driving. The Kia EV9 is great as for the interior concept and also for the quality, so we were very positively surprised by that. Also the whole car is animal free and with a high quality, so if you go electric and want a 7-seater and want a SUV with a premium touch, definitely way to go here. The Mazda CX-80 and the Skoda Kodiaq are the more budget competitors here in this comparison. The Skoda Kodiaq for the European market, the CX-80 or then the CX-90 is then available for the Northern American market. They split a little bit that the CX-80 is then for the European market, but it's almost the same like the CX-90 in the US and in Canada and so on. As we know from the CX-60 from driving, yeah, it doesn't drive the best in comparison to other Mazda models, and also the space on the second seating row is not the most convincing one, however. Then again, it offers almost half the price of the premium competitors. The same goes for the Skoda Kodiaq, which has a very decent driving experience. No ISOFIX though in the third seating row, that is something of a drawback, but still considering its exterior length, it offers decent space on the inside. This is lengthwise the shortest competitor here in this comparison. Overall, when price does not play a role, I would go with the BMW X7 just because of this combination of exterior looks, interior comfort and materials, and the quality of the drive. Plus, they very much improved in reliability in the recent years. The Lexus TX I would then pick if I want to save a little bit more money, or then with the Toyota Grand Highlander if I don't want to pay the Lexus price. On the electric side, clearly then the Kia EV9. And on the budget side, the Skoda Kodiaq in the EU is still a good pick, definitely. The Mazda there, I'm not that satisfied with the driving experience overall, so especially when we think about the Mazda CX-5, so I would rather pick a Mazda CX-5, not one of the big new Mazda SUVs. Honestly, yeah, but then again, the CX-5 doesn't offer so much space. So these are my choices here for today. Which are yours? Tell me in the comments, and also tune in for more comparison episodes.